Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bond. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. How y'all doing? We're wrapping up the week, and guess who's here? The crypto guru, Ronald Murphy. And man, are we glad to have the guru back with us tonight. Good to have you all here as well. Let's start off with the roll call here. Race fan in the gold medal position. Todd Purdon takes home the silver. Vash the Impaler with a nice bronze medal. Jack Clark, good to see you back. Mark Miller is here, everyone. The Mark Miller. He'll be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Go 66. Nicola and the gorgeous Kathy Evans are here. Awesome Cat Chaser. Stunning Arlene Atkinzel. And Downshift. Nice to have you here. Mr. Lurks-a-Lot and Chillin' Villain. Chillin' Villain will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio. The gorgeous Carrie Ann from Central PA. Nice to have you here. The stunning Jessica McCreary. John Swan, $5,900. Good to see you all here. Sweet Donna C. from New Mexico. Much love to you. Princess Luna looking gorgeous tonight. The stunning and talented Xochitl Paez is here. Gordium Zero Cool. Eniles H. Welcome to Spaced Out Radio for the first time in our chat room. Thank you for joining us. Eddie Haskell, Snakes on a UFO, the stunning Thin Lizzie Borden, and Dirty Filther here. Doc from Wyoming, nice to have you back. Hi there, Millennium. Good to see you. There's the Fapster right there. Nice to have you here. And who else we got? Bigfoot Anon, how you doing, buddy? And lovely Lynn LeBlanc. Lunar Eclipse Paranormal, good to see you. Double Tim, nice to have you here. As we continue on with roll call, there is the gorgeous Melissa Nicole. Thank you for coming on in. And the stunning Oracles and Beyond. Richard Elmore, gorgeous Tammy Finnegan. The stunning Cosmic Floor. Glenn John McEnroe, the pride of Wimbledon. Spooky Morales and his trumpet are here tonight. Nightmare, nice to have you here. As we continue on with roll call, Goth White Ink, how are you, buddy? Nice to have you here. All the way from Sri Lanka, Kason Lee. How are you, man? Nice to have you back. Always love it when you're here. As we continue on here, the gorgeous Avi May, the stunning Stargazer. And who else do we have here? And let's see here. Oh, there he is, everyone. Jeff Steve Garvey. That man can play first base like anything. Jerry O'Brien, nice to have you back. Tony D, good morning to you in the UK. As we continue on with roll call for the crypto guru, War Eagle, Uncle Dale and his power stash are here. Remember, if you see Uncle Dale in Austin, Texas, rub his power stash for good luck right through New Year's. Scary Gary, nice to have you here. Carfanibre, Skip Tumaloo, Lee Poping, how you doing, guys? Chad Smith is here. The Chad Smith. Robert Two Crows, good to have you here. Sam Wan said, how are you? Welcome to our channel. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And who are we here? There's Benji, or Benjel. I can't tell if that's an I or an L or a capital I, but either way, let's just run with it. Barbara Woodland, all the way from Shawville, Quebec, Canada. Bonjour, comment ça va? Merci beaucoup for coming on in. Jeffrey DeRuin, how you doing, bud? All the way down in Texas for Project Blue Book. Nice to see you. The gorgeous Pam McSee. And we are caught up for right now. So let's start the radio side here, because that's kind of what we have to do. And kind of ahead of the game here. We are ahead of the game. And, oh, that looks good. That looks good. You guys want to see something nice quickly here? Our brand new logo. This is what we're going to be branding here. Our brand new logo right here. There it is, everyone. We own the night. Just like an owl owns the night. All right, we got about 35, 40 seconds left before we got to kick this thing off. Crypto guru Ronald Murphy is here, and we are proud to have him here. Hi, Alien Girl. Nice to see you. Big Willie, good to have you here. Sonny from Paranormal Chop Shop. Remember, the Super Chat is open. It's a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And, of course, do a little shopping at spacedoutradio.com. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell. And if you're one of the wonderful veterans who is listening to this show, hi, Tangerina Arena. Welcome to Spaced Out Radio's chat room. We appreciate you coming on in. You know what? If you're one of the veterans, thank you so much. You always have a safe home here. Guess what? It's time to get your horns up. Here comes Bumblefoot. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire, and check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. It is that time once again where we get a little Christmassy with the crypto guru, Ronald Murphy. Ronald L. Murphy Jr. has all his books up on Amazon. He is a top-selling author when it comes to all things to do with monsters, folklore, legends, monsters like Sasquatch, ghost stories, paranormal. He is a man, a myth, and a legend in his own mind. And you know what? His kids don't mind because he's a pretty cool dad as well. And we're always glad to have the guru on this show breaking down monsters and everything to do with them in such an eloquent manner that I'll tell you, once you hear the guru once, you'll want to hear him again and again and again. The Crypto Guru. It is always a pleasure to have you on Spaced Out Radio, my friend. How are you?
It is my pleasure to be here, Dave. I'm looking forward to every time we get together, which is happening about every other month now, which is a good thing. It's kind of like a good cycle thing that we're on. And I'm looking forward to this because this is right before Christmas. And what more can we ask for? This is like an early Christmas gift for me to be with you and the Spaced Out fans over here.
Right on, buddy. I always appreciate you, and you're one of the best out there. And the fact that you always want to come on this show makes me feel pretty darn good and entertain our audience, my friend. And, you know, you're an educated man. You're somebody who has, I believe, a master's degree. Mm-hmm. You're someone who has, you know, are very, you know, grounded to life in general. You're a father, you're a grandfather, you're a career man. And yet here you are chasing monsters the last number of years, trying to figure out what's going on. I mean, this is two sides of the guru, man.
There is, you know, but I've been chasing monsters ever since I've been a child. I've just been writing about them recently, do you see? So I think that that's a way to kind of exercise these fears that I've had, that I've always had ever since I've been a child, you know, thinking there was something underneath my bed, or whenever I peeked around the curtains and I'm afraid to see something staring back at me. So I think that I've always had this love and this fascination with the fear of what's beyond my door. But it's only recently that I've been writing about it and trying to figure myself out. It's kind of like a pseudo-psychological examination of myself.
What do you love about the cryptid world?
that it is still out there, that there are still things out there that are unexplained. And every time you have somebody on your show that deals with cryptids, I love to hear people talk about the oceans. I love to hear people talk about lakes and all these great things that are there, because we know that we know more about the surface of the moon than we do about the limitless abyss of the oceans, which is very curious. So, what might be living out there? Whenever I go to the ocean, I always like to go out at night. And I look out at these, the waves that are breaking. And I think, what might be out there roaming about? And those this curious fascination that I have with things that are living out there, unknown to science, really puts us in our place. We aren't the end all and be all of everything. And I like to think that there's a little bit of wild things left in this world that we have not conquered yet.
Well, you know what? It's a great passion to have. It really is. And it's a fun passion. It's a different passion. How do you like it when people address you as a monster hunter, or when you meet people for the first time and they say, what do you do there, Ronald Murphy? And you say, well, I'm an author. I'm a monster hunter.
That's right.
What kind of reactions do you get?
Well, the first time I ever used it, I was on a plane to go into a conference up in Sault Ste. Marie in Michigan. And there was a lot of people on board, people from ghost hunters, a lot of people that were in the ghost field. And there was a guy that sat down next to me and he goes, who are all these people on here? And I said, it's just a bunch of weirdos out there that look for ghosts. I look for monsters, And so I think that there's something to be said about that. People who look for ghosts, that tends to be kind of, acceptable nowadays. But people that look for monsters, that's still a little bit of sidelong glance to it, because we are going a little bit out of our comfort zone, right? We are going in there and we're stating a fact that we think that there might be things out there that still go bump in the night and still lurk and prowl about. And that's really kind of putting our credibility out there. And I don't think very many people want to do that anymore.
For you, what is the romanticism with being a monster hunter compared to being a ghost hunter?
That's actually a great point. Somebody asked me one time, and this was probably about 15 years ago. It was a young lady, and she asked me if I thought that Bigfoot might be my alter ego, and I never thought about that very much until relatively recently. And I think there's something to be said about that. I think that we kind of project ourselves into this world that is bigger than who we are. And there's something primal about these creatures. They don't live by our rules. They look like us, in some cryptids, they appear very humanoid, but they don't follow our expectations. And it's that kind of wildness that I really do admire so much in the cryptid world. Ghosts tend to be, haunting one establishment. They seem to be much more confined. And ghosts also seem to operate within certain types of rules as far as haunting goes. But these cryptids, they make up the rules as they go along. They're their own type of manifestations in this world. And that's really why I hold on to the romance of it so much, is because I want to belong to that world where you can let your hair down and you can howl at the moon. That's the kind of world that I would like to live in. Although it still frightens me as well, too. So I look at these monsters not only as something that may be flesh and blood out there in the environment that is unknown, but I also look at them very much as a projection of who we are as humanity.
And that's the kind of the way it is. I mean, you don't care what it is. You've chased after Bigfoot, dogmen, cryptids, gnomes, gargoyles, goblins, trolls under bridges, and ex-wives. I mean, you've kind of chased it all down. It's a hard thing to try and accomplish, because the majority of time, like 99.8% of the time, nothing is going to happen.
Right.
Nothing.
And if it does happen, it's very subjective, isn't it? Like, you've been out on these things as well, too. And sometimes something could happen to somebody in your group, but you don't experience it. I will tell you, enough things have happened to me circumstantially to make me want to continue. I don't call myself as an experiencer in as much as I've seen these creatures firsthand, but I have seen enough, let's say, evidence. I've come upon tracks. I've heard the howls, and I've heard the whoops and all that kind of things that can't be explained by mainstream science, so to speak. So I know that there's something out there more than we know, and that's really what keeps me going. It's people that come up to me and tell me about the stories that they've had, or the research that I do, and keep on finding out that if you start tracing all these dots, they start making a picture. Something out there is going on. We just simply have to kind of uncover what's going on, because it's happening to all of us. It's something that is part of our collective unconscious in humanity itself.
So why do you believe?
Because other people do. Truly, I mean, I think that it was Dr. Jeff Meldrum who always liked to say that he doesn't like to use the word belief because it sounds, like a religion. But there is something to the paranormal that is like a cult. People come together with a belief system. They come together with a knowledge that's somewhat shared, and they elucidate on that knowledge. They make it their own. They expand it, but it is almost like a pseudo religion, that we're all looking for an answer that lies beyond who we are. And if we are able to find out those answers, not only will that define who we are, but that will also define our place in the overall aspect of the universe.
Do you think there will ever come a day where cryptids and monsters are proven to be fact rather than fantasy?
Well, I think a lot of that is happening now. The giant squid, at one time was called, the Kraken, and now they have a gosh darn hockey team named the Krakens, right? So, these creatures that were one time feared as sea monsters are now made the mascot of professional hockey teams. So there will always be discoveries that are made of creatures that have been considered monsters. But if the day ever comes that Bigfoot is kind of pinned down to the table, or the Loch Ness monster, there will be a bit of a sadness to the world, I think, because that last vestige of wildness will be somehow usurped and tamed by humanity. And that stuff is supposed to be wild forever. I hope that these things are never discovered. Even though I write about it, and even though I go out there looking for evidence, a part of me really hopes that these things are flesh and blood out there, and they're living their own little lives, and they're going to be able to stay away from humanity for as long as humanly possible. I truly do.
I just don't see a day when a lot of this comes out, because I'm not sure if a lot of these creatures are from here. I know that sounds very far fetched for a lot of our listeners out there, but you and I have talked over the years where, I honestly believe that a lot of these creatures come from different dimensions, or an inner earth type of scenario where they have their own land, they have their own laws, their own rules, their own way of existence, Ron.
Yeah, I think that really is the way that we need to look at this, because there's something going on that is not simply natural. There's something metaphysical going on. We're not finding bodies. We're not finding, we're not having the pictures taken, even though everybody has a camera nowadays. There's something going on that is not providing us with this solid evidence that we need on creatures like Bigfoot and, Dogman and things. These are mysteries that I believe are not going to be solved in laboratories or through dissection. I agree totally. I think there's something interdimensional going on, or if not interdimensional, something within the natural world that we can simply not comprehend. I like to use the words like intelligences in the natural environment, like fairies. I write about fairies, and I make no kind of excuse whenever I say to people that I believe certain types of Bigfoot sightings and certain types of Dogman sightings and even Thunderbird sightings could relate to fairy sightings if you connect the dots into antiquity. So I really am of the opinion that when we talk about these kind of creatures, that we have to include the possibility of interdimensionality, the possibility of portals, the possibility of these things not being of this world, and the possibility that what we call Bigfoot, what we call Dogman, what we call a number of these cryptids are nothing more than impressions that are put within our head by some sort of intelligence within the natural world that we simply cannot understand.
We've got a few minutes to go here before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour. The crypto guru, Ronald Murphy, is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Your love of this subject transcends so many different monsters, and yet you have been able to remain quite open-minded about the topics. You don't know if they're flesh and blood. You don't know if they're mysterious, magical, or whether they come from different dimensions. Why do you keep such an open mind when so many other people out there in these fields are very, very demanding on what their expectations of these creatures are?
Well, once we close our mind, then what we've done is we've already passed judgment. And I can't do that. I don't want to say that these things are flesh and blood, and then any kind of information that I get proving the opposite of that, I completely throw away. And a lot of researchers do that. I've spoken with researchers who are of the flesh and blood camp, and they talk about a Bigfoot that materializes or dematerializes in front of somebody, and immediately that report is thrown away. That's because that person has already been biased and has already made a judgment about what this creature is. I keep an open mind because we have no idea what we're dealing with here. And the more reports that I get and the more times I talk with people, the more it seems that we're not dealing with something that is completely flesh and blood. So if it's not flesh and blood, if it is another aspect than just simply of this world, then we have to keep our mind open because we have no idea what we're dealing with.
And that's the big thing, is what exactly are we dealing with? That
Mhm.
is the $1,000,000 question right there, for anybody. It is a lottery ticket that we all wish that we had going into the forest, or going into, these dreaded areas that not many people would like to actually go through. So for you, Guru, as you make the quest to try and track these down, what have you learned not only about these creatures but of yourself?
Um, that's a great question because I've actually learned more about who I am as a person by studying these things than I would if I would just simply, sit in a therapist office. You ask yourself, why are you doing these things? Well, why are we on the search for this? Is because we want to be a part of something that's bigger than who we are. And we also want to be connected to that world around us. That's one thing. What do these things represent? What kind of archetype is this creature? And do we see ourselves, or we identify with it? Are we drawn to it, or are we repelled by it? Do we loathe it, or do we love it? All these kind of impulses and emotions come up within this field, and it really allows us to look into that mirror. Carl Jung, Carl Jung said that within us is a shadow, and in that shadow is a mirror, and in that mirror we see who we are. And I think that's very true. I think when we deal with these archetypes, like Bigfoot and like Dogman and vampires and all those other things, mermaids, they may be real, but if they're not flesh and blood, then what they are at least is a mirror by which we see our reflection one way or the other. And we can talk about that a little bit more when we come back from break, about the idea of the cryptid as an archetype, because I think it's very fascinating. I mean, we don't have to spend a lot of time on it. It becomes rather dry if you talk about it for too much. But I think that's one of the things that a lot of people pass over, that they see these creatures as something that are out in the woods, but they don't take it to the next step and say, why do we need these things out in the woods? And why do so many cultures around the world have these things?
Well, what is your theory on that?
Well, I think that we need the wild man. I think that we need the wild man because it is the polar opposite of who we are, right? We live in a civilized communities. We know what our boundaries are. We have laws. The wild man exists outside of civilization. It's the primal urge of a man. If he wants a woman, he kidnaps her. He eats well, but he doesn't have to work. He lives by his own clock and by his own rules. So I think that is kind of an indictment towards civilization whenever you have an archetype up there as a wild man. I really do. And then vampires are also these skeletons in our closet that we don't want to admit that we are capable of doing such heinous crimes, killing people and drinking their blood. The same way whenever it comes to werewolves as well. The idea that people are responsible for these things doesn't make any sense to us because we don't want to admit it. So we put a mask on them and we call them monsters. But at the end of the day, you pull that mask off, and more often than not, underneath that is just a human being. So I think that's one of the reasons why we have these creatures as well, too. They become the scapegoat for deeds that we are not ready to admit that we're capable of committing.
We got 3 minutes to go before we got to go to break. At the bottom of the hour, the Crypto Guru is with us. And when we come back from the break, we're going to get into some story time from encounters around Christmas that you have gathered over the years. For you, though, I know Bigfoot is your love and your passion in trying to study. Why do you have such a fascination with Sasquatch?
Again, whenever I'm on your show, I always have to give a shout out to my mom. She's the one that really was fascinated by this creature. So ever since I've been a child, it was her that was telling me about this creature. So the first time I ever saw the Patterson-Gimlin tape, I was sitting on her lap and we were watching it on a floor model black and white television set. So it was, from her lap and from the stories that she told and from the books that she read to me before I could even read myself. That's what gave me the love for the things that go bump in the night. So I never truly feared them as much as I respected them and, more or less kind of revered them as well, too, because they do represent everything out there in the world that I wish was still present. That wildness, the kind of the uncivilized that we so desperately need in this world.
Do you think there will come a day when you have a face-to-face interaction with this creature? Like I'm talking within 10 feet.
It would be fantastic if that would happen. It truly would. But when I was on your show a while back, and that's the other thing we could talk about as well, too. I think that whenever people have a connection with these creatures face to face, it is almost it's almost a sacred type of thing. I do believe that there has to be an unspoken agreement between the parties involved, that the experiencer has to give something of themselves, and then the creature has to give something of itself, and there's some sort of circuitry that's made, some sort of connection, and this allows the event to happen. I really don't know how to put it any better way, but I think there has to be some sort of, like I said, some sort of reciprocity there, that there is, you experience it for a certain reason, and it kind of reveals itself to you more than just kind of wanders out and you stumble upon it. I think there's a revelation that's going on there, Dave, more than a haphazard experience.
I think you could be right. I really do think you could be right. I mean, the problem with that damn creature is, Ronald, you never know where it's going to show up. You never know where it's going to be. You never know when that encounter is going to happen. That's the frustrating part about it, as we have the Crypto Guru here on Spaced Out Radio tonight. He looks like he's ready to go catch a mugwump somewhere, somehow. Probably got a rope on his hip as well. Why not? It's the Guru. It is Ronald Murphy. Ronald L. Murphy Jr. is his pen name. If you're looking for any of his books, which can be found online anywhere, just look for him. He's an incredible writer, eloquent speaker. He is the crypto guru, Ronald Murphy. We will be right back with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio right after this.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thorne.
Hey, buddy. We are clear.
Awesome.
That was a fast one.
Yeah,
Let's give a quick shout out here to Boom Gorgeous Bama. Hey there, Felipe. And Mr. Catfish, Whit Hilton. Good to see you in the chat room. And let's see here. Who else came in late? I'm saying Xochitl Paez because I just like saying the name. Xochitl Paez. Yes, fun to say. Rolls off the tongue well. Let's see here. Who else has come on in? Hello, gorgeous Kira. James Smith, nice to have you here. See, there's Xochitl Paez. Isn't that an awesome? I was butchering that right off the bat, man, that name. Could do it. Awesome Arlene Adkinzel has power on again. Sensational Sherry, good to see you. Guru, by the way, is going to be coming to the Las Vegas party April 22nd and 24th in Las Vegas. We haven't worked out the particulars just yet. Give me a little bit of time to do that, but we want to make sure that every Spaced Out Radio listener lets us know if they're coming. And when you commit to coming, old Davey's going to have a grab bag there for you of Spaced Out Radio stuff, swag, gear. That's the way it's going to work. I will have more details coming up in the next few weeks, but I'm telling you now, you got 5 months to prepare. 5 months to prepare. You know, you have yourself a good Christmas, and then you have yourself a wonderful New Year, and then you got 4 months of savings to get ready for an awesome weekend of partying with Spaced Out Radio listeners. Hey, Charles Blithfield, welcome to our chat room. And who else came in here? G West, nice to see you. I will do that in hour 2, John Doe. So make sure that you guys get ready because we're going to have a fun time in Vegas. And gorgeous Cosmic Fleur, we want to see you there. Yes, we do. Spooky Morales is bringing his trumpet. He's going to be playing as he walks down Las Vegas Boulevard. He will have his fedora out to collect change.
Well, that's what I said. There's things to do there day and night. So, you know, it doesn't matter what time we do these things, but we can go investigating. We can go to the museums. We can do whatever we need to do 24 hours a day for the 3 days we're there.
Mm-hmm. And just so you all know, Ronald Murphy will only sign autographs in gold Sharpie.
That's right.
Mark Miller's going to join us in Vegas. I can tell. Mark Miller's going to join us. Xochitl. Casey wants me to say Xochitl Paez. Fantastic name to say. I love saying that name. Xochitl Paez. It just sounds so badass.
It does.
Mm-hmm. By the way, about minus 14 Celsius outside the studio right now. We got about just over 90 seconds here, Guru.
Sweet.
Hey, GFG. You're going to bring them meaty toes to Vegas, aren't you? This is just a Vegas party for all Spaced Out Radio listeners. Paula W. may be there. The gorgeous Paula W. April 13th, a beautiful birthday. That was my nephew's birthday. God bless him. Hey, Grant Roger from Quesnel, British Columbia, just north of me a couple of hours. They got some Sasquatch up there. He's kicking off the super chat tonight. It's a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. Thank you for that super sticker there. Grant Roger, I got to be up in your area here pretty soon here. I'm going to go see some friends who just moved up to the coast. All right, we have about 29 seconds before we're going to kick things off with the second half hour. The Guru is here. Guru time, people. And don't forget, April 22nd to 24th, the SOR Vegas party, part 1. Part 1. You ready, Guru?
I'm ready.
Let's do it. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate it. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on with the crypto guru, Ronald Murphy, here tonight as we are taking on Monsters Among Us. The guru comes in every couple of months to talk about some weird, strange, beautiful stories that come around his investigations and around the world. Crypto Guru, always a pleasure to have you here. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic. The time is flying by.
Well, we appreciate that, my friend. We appreciate that. Christmas time is just around the corner.
It is.
And I'm pretty sure that you have a wonderful story or two about Christmas monsters that you would love to share with us.
You know what? And just as you mentioned that, I see that a very attractive young lady named Andreas Lindmark entered the room, and she said, "Hi, I'm from Sweden." Now, this is interesting because so many of these tells regarding, St. Nicholas and the Christmas season comes from Sweden. And without those folks up there in the Nordic regions, we would not have the Christmas that we know, because as we delineate this most sacred of holidays, we find out that very little of it deals with the birth of Jesus, and most of it has to do with legends, some of which are very bloody and terrifying as well too. There she is, right there. So
Andreas is a guy.
Andreas, oh yes. Oh, you know what? Yes. See, I need to wear my bifocals, Andreas. I apologize here, but he's still beautiful. Still regardless.
He's a beautiful guy. I mean, it looks like in his picture that he's drinking a nice ale or something along those lines.
Right. Okay, perfect. Well, everybody from that area are all very chiseled and very attractive people.
Yeah.
Right? So
Swedish people, I don't think they allow unattractive people like you or me there, my friend.
They get rid of you immediately. You have to be blue-eyed and blonde-haired, and
gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. They immediately they expose them to the elements or whatever. And somebody else right now asked about Krampus. So this is a great time to get into this stuff. So we talk about all the traditions of Christmas time, like bringing the tree in and decorating the tree. None of this has to do with a baby in a manger. This all has to do with very pagan roots. And you could probably go back as far as maybe 2,000 years and look at what the folks were doing in places like Sweden and places like Denmark and all those northern regions, and also in Germany and places like that as well too. This time of the year, we're right around December 21st, was the solstice. So the days are getting very, very short. The shortest day of the year is going to be December 21st, and then all the days will now be getting brighter and brighter. But think about how terrifying this will be. It's very interesting that we celebrate Halloween. We celebrate Samhain, October 31st. Now we know that we have to be prepared for the wintertime because it's going to start getting darker. And when we talk about a pre-scientific society and something that, you're dependent upon the natural world to stay alive, think about that for a second. Think about how terrifying it would be to be in Norway during a snowstorm, or be bound for weeks at a time. If your relative is going to make it through. So this is a very terrifying time. So a lot of our stories about the Yule season has to do with sacrifice and has to do with death. And I was always wondering why that great Christmas song talks about, children, going around, what are they doing? Jingling or whatever. And then they talk about telling ghost stories. I thought, what the hell's up with that? I never heard much of a tradition of this. And as I was researching my book on ghosts, I found out that until very recently, part of the tradition of the Christmas time was telling ghost stories. That's just what happened, and that's manifested in A Christmas Carol by Dickens. So I thought I would kind of examine why ghosts were so important at that particular time, and on how to deal with death. Simple as that. This was a very hard time. A lot of people wouldn't survive, especially, a baby with any kind of sickness is not going to make it. So everything that was going on around December 21st, December 25th was to encourage the sun to come back and, bring the world back to life. And so the Catholic Church in the Middle Ages was thinking, these guys were trying to convert, these pagans were trying to convert, and we really want them to believe in Jesus, but they have all these kind of traditions. What happens if we do some synchronization here? So as the pagans were celebrating the birth of the sun, S-O-N, they thought, well, we'll just place Jesus in there and celebrate the birth of the sun, S-O-N, on December 25th, whenever this was already a very popular holiday because it marked the time whenever the days were starting to get brighter again, starting to get lighter. So it's been about, probably about 1,500 years or so that we started to celebrate this kind of synchronized relationship between the old customs and the new customs. And that has done a lot in the ancient world because you wanted to make a new religion, a conquering religion, very palatable to the people that you're conquering. And so doing that, you're going to blend a lot of different elements. And one of them was the Yule tree, the Christmas tree that we have. Marked the time whenever people would bring in some greens from the outside to remind them that even in the dead of winter, when nothing seemed to be alive, there was still that greenery out there. And that was also a sort of sympathetic magic that if you would bring this into the home, this greenery would somehow bring the home to life as well. And another thing that was very curious as well, too, we can find in the archaeological record that whenever the Yule tree was brought into the house, oftentimes families would gather together and write up petitions to the gods, like, let there be a good crop, or let our animals breed well, or let us have a baby in the coming year, or whatever. And they would place these kind of prayers or these intercessions either on the tree as a form of decoration or under the tree as kind of a present. So the tradition of a Christmas tree, of the Yule tree, providing gifts to people, goes back for, at least hundreds of years. before the advent of Christianity, if not thousands of years before that. But yeah, I mean, I've always found this time of year very fascinating. And growing up Catholic, I could never understand why we have so many of these traditions, and most of it has to do with things like the Green Man and things like Father Christmas, who was before it was Father Christmas, he probably was Odin, the Norse god. So we are during the Christmas season, during the Yule season, we are probably at least 80% celebrating old pagan holidays as we are celebrating a Christian holiday.
The crypto guru Ronald Murphy comes at us tonight. I mean, there's a lot of superstition around this time of year. I mean, whether it's Santa Claus, whether it's Krampus, whether it's elves. I mean, all of this seems to be very man-made to make it more seasonal rather than traditional. You know, how does that work? Like, have we created the tulpa of Santa Claus over the years?
Yeah. Well, if not the tulpa, then at least the mythology. Let's put it that way. And one of the great things is the Krampus, and of course the Krampus is much older than Santa Claus. This is a very ancient pagan belief, and you can tell by the way the creature looks. You know, it's in the form of a goat, which has long been considered a very lascivious animal. You know, something that was very sexual in nature. The Greeks, espoused that look in the satyr, and then of course Christianity took those looks and made them into the devil itself. But the Krampus represented, in my opinion at least, the dangers of the wintertime. Whenever you kind of like let yourself go and you let your passions run free, this is kind of the punishment that happens. Something will come in out of the storm and steal your children away or steal you away. So this is what was going on before the advent of Christianity. Now, what is interesting is once Christianity arrives, it is not Santa Claus that comes to your house, but it's St. Nicholas. And St. Nicholas comes to your house dressed not in the furs of our Santa Claus, but he comes in his priestly garb and is wearing his bishop mitre. And he comes to your house. And a lot of these great, fascinating pictures survive whenever we have St. Nicholas coming into the house. And behind him is the Krampus with a birch rod to beat the children that are bad. But St. Nicholas comes into the house and he kind of discerns whether the children are naughty or nice. And if the children are, of course, they've been good, then they get a gift, which usually like a piece of fruit or a piece of candy, nothing extravagant. But if the children are bad, that's whenever St. Nicholas turns the Krampus, turns them over to the Krampus. And he can do anything from beat the children to abducting the children, actually removing them from the house. So in this tale, we can see Krampus as being the boogeyman, right? So we see this as something that has been there for, like I said, at least hundreds, if not thousands of years before the advent of St. Nicholas. But it was the way for the church to allow the people in these regions, these Nordic alpine regions, to accept Christianity, because you would have to blend these two things together. So now Krampus, which is an old pagan, at least probably, a personification, if not a deity itself, is now supplanted by the Christian saint. But he might be supplanted, but he's still there. He's still part of the picture. So I find these kind of things very, very fascinating, because we don't want to give up on that kind of stuff. We talked at the very beginning about what fascinates you about Bigfoot, and I said about all the wildness and everything. Well, these people didn't want to give up on this stuff either. Even though that they were at least nominally accepted Christianity, they didn't want to give up on their idea of Krampus. They didn't want to give up their idea of Father Christmas and the Yule log. They wanted all this stuff because it represented something to them that was outside of their world. It was an explanation for them. And so I just find that stuff very, very fascinating.
What's your favorite holiday story regarding some of these creatures?
Oh.
Is it the elves of the North Pole? Is it the idea that there's flying reindeer and, everybody from NORAD to shopping malls get right into it?
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the commercialized side of things, Ron.
Right. Well, I gotta love the idea of of how Santa Claus evolved, because at first he probably was connected to Odin. I mean, that's probably the case. So we imagine Saint Nicholas or Santa Claus now wearing this kind of red garment, and that red garment, if it was worn by Odin, it was probably covered in the blood of sacrifice, or if not sacrifice, the blood of enemies that were killed in battle. This is a very violent culture. And we see Odin riding through the sky right around December 25th during something called the Wild Hunt. And that is whenever the Valkyries would come out. That is whenever the fairies would come out. That's whenever ghosts would come out. And led by Odin himself, they would go across the countryside. And if you were unfortunate enough to be outside, you were swept up into this wild hunt, never to be seen again. Now, of course, this is a personification of the natural world. This is a personification of storms and the hellish dead of winter type of nightmares that could exist. But it is still a reminder about where our Santa Claus came from. So we have, and the other thing about elves, elves are almost exclusively confined to places like Iceland and places like Norway and Sweden. These are all alpine things. And it was Clement Moore that was writing "Twas the Night Before Christmas" that included all these kind of regional variations into our tale. He was doing ethnographic work in New York City, if I'm not mistaken, and he was studying some of the cultures in that area. And he came across the idea of people wearing these types of furs, and then the idea of the elves then being a part of it as well too. And we have to understand that in "Twas the Night Before Christmas," Santa Claus was not this big jovial obese person. If we can remember the text, he was a jolly old elf. So Santa Claus and "Twas the Night Before Christmas" was actually a very diminutive figure, more closely aligned to a gnome than a human being.
You're calling Santa a gnome?
If we read the text right now, you will see that he was not only a magic worker, but he was also an elf. And of that elfly class would become the gnome, especially if you think about the way he has his beard and everything. So that's what was going on, Dave. I'm going to lay this on the line. I'm going to say that the first representation of Santa Claus in the American psyche was one of a gnome.
It's a big gnome.
Well, he was little. He was on a sleigh pulled by 8 tiny reindeer. See, everything in that was very, very small. We are dealing with a world that wasn't like we imagine it. We were dealing with a fairy world that was coming into our realm. Okay, when we talk about portals and things like that, that's what was going on. It was a merging. It was like at this time, Halloween is very special. Halloween's very special because the veil between this world and the next is at its thinnest. That's a traditional. But we also have to understand that there's other times of the year when that veil is thinnest as well too. The summer solstice is one. The other time is the winter solstice. So this veil is thin. So those things which lie beyond are now permitted to come into our world. So that's the reason why all these kind of magical things happen. That's the reason why the Santa Claus in "Twas the Night Before Christmas" can lay his finger upside his nose and vanish up a chimney. It's not of this world.
Not buying it. Not buying it.
I'll tell you, we get out "Twas the Night Before Christmas" right now. We will read the very end of it, and I will show you completely how our Santa Claus had come from a gnome.
You're killing me, Guru.
I know.
Absolutely killing me.
I know.
That's why you're the crypto guru, Ronald Murphy, is we got about 5 minutes to go here before we're going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. And Guru, okay, so where did the flying reindeer come from, man?
Okay, that's actually from his Clement Moore's imagination. But again, we're dealing with a culture, these kind of Nordic cultures, these Alpine cultures that relied on reindeer. And not only did they rely on them for food, but a lot of these cultures also use them to ride on, which is kind of weird to look at. The people's feet almost drag off the ground, but there are people out there that ride reindeer. But it's just simply part of that culture. So if you were trying to establish a precedent for Santa Claus, and you want to kind of him be have all the accoutrements of that particular culture. Clement Moore dressed him in the way that he would be dressed. He used these kind of fairy type of creatures, the elves, to be part of it as well too. And then he included reindeer, so he knew what he was doing. He was able to provide a very fully realized version of his Santa Claus.
Okay, I got you there. Pardon me there for coughing ears. We got about 3.5 minutes to go.
But I wanted to say one thing too. So
Sure.
Santa Claus flies across the sky on with his reindeer. Okay, but during the wild hunt, Odin flies across the sky with his Valkyries and everything. So we can see this identification. It's just these people that as we're writing this, we're trying to make it more palatable and more digestible for people at large. You have to tone it down a bit. And that's what was going on. We're going from a process. Again, whenever I said about why I like Bigfoot so much, we are seeing these wild things becoming domesticated, so we can now incorporate them into our world. So the Santa Claus that was around 2,000 years ago before Christ, which was part of a wild hunt, which was this sky god that was roaming about the frozen tundra, looking for people that might have be outside to sweep them away, now has become this jolly old man drinking a Coca-Cola, that we all know and love now today. But we see a domestication process that went through, and makes you sort of sad at the end, especially from a folklore point of view, because you have to do so much reading between the lines until you can finally see where this jolly old elf came from.
Well, that's very interesting, my friend. Very interesting. We got 2 minutes to go here. Let's wrap up the whole Christmas talk, Ben, and then next hour we'll get into the seriously fun part of all the monster talk. I'm curious for you, my friend. What is your favorite Christmas tradition?
I used to like putting up the tree until I'm a parent now. And then, a tree with 5 kids, you can only put so much on there. And then my granddaughter now, of course, she's at the age where she can pull things off the tree. And I have 2 cats and they like to climb the tree and knock things off. I will go and say it is the food. That's one of the reasons why I like Thanksgiving so much. If there's something to eat and we all are kind of gathered together and we sit here together and we talk and everybody's healthy and everybody's safe, there's not much more that I could ask for.
Oh, yeah. You've really gone into your 50s now and you're saying that.
I know.
What do you want for Christmas? Be honest here. What does the Guru want for Christmas?
Honestly, goodness, since I've had kids, I've never thought about that. I'm thinking about getting myself another hat, though.
Nice call.
Yeah, thinking about getting myself another hat.
That works. That completely works.
Yeah.
You need one of them hunting hats, those Indiana Jones type hats that are out there scouring the world for monsters and the unknown.
Yeah. Well, of course I'm Irish, and there's a hat out there which is kind of like a traditional hat, but it's a variation on kind of the hunter hat that you described, and it's called a Jack Murphy hat.
Very nice. G. West quickly asking, we have 30 seconds. Has anybody had a true Santa experience that you know?
Okay, there have been. Okay, and again, as because I'm a Catholic, how do you follow up on this? How do you explain this away? Well, because there was a true Santa Claus, because there was a true St. Nicholas, and we know that there was a real St. Nicholas. Not only was he a bishop, but he also presided over the Council of Nicaea in 325, which really established the whole idea of the Trinitarian belief and the properties of Jesus and everything. So he was a mover and shaker within the world of Christianity, especially early Christianity. But the way you describe this, this is the way I explain to the kids as well too. Santa Claus exists because he's part of the communion of the saints, at least within the Catholic tradition.
All right, the Crypto Guru is here, the Ronald Murphy Jr. You can get all of his books on Amazon, especially his On series. When we come back, Monster Talk, audience questions. The Guru returns for hour 2 next.
Hey, space travelers. This is John Resig, founder of the Chide and Chide.
There we go. Okay, we're clear.
All righty, cool.
All right, let's go here. Give me 2 seconds here. All right. I believe that's it right there. Give me 2 seconds, Guru.
Sure.
We will put that in desktop. Oh, wrong one. Here. Oh, there, go there. I'm trying to do 185 things at once here.
Well, I can imagine.
Yeah. That was a quick hour, man.
It was, and a lot of people are bringing up some cool things here too about the reindeer names. That's the other thing that we could have looked at as well too. You know, that's a show in and of itself. But whenever you think of like Donder and Blitzen, that means thunder and lightning. So we harken back again to the idea of a sky god origin for these creatures.
Right. Right. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
That is very cool.
Yeah. And yeah. I was trying to think about some other ones. Who are the reindeer anyways? Donner, Blitzen, Cupid,
Dasher,
Comet.
Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, or Blitzen. Vixen,
Yeah.
Comet, Cupid, Donder, Blitzen.
Yeah, so there you go. So yeah, we do have a lot of different kind of sky imagery in that.
But do you recall, Guru, the most famous reindeer of all?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Montgomery Ward made them up.
I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yes.
By the way, if you go onto our store right now, we have our brand new logo of the SOR Owl. We own the Night Owl. That's the logo we will be putting out there for all of you. And we got some brand new t-shirts and swag coming on in here. And I'm telling you, we got some good stuff. Tank tops, regular tops. I'm going to do some tank tops with the new logo for the ladies right now, because I know Kira wants those. Kira likes a good tank top, so we're gonna add that in there. We're gonna do some SOR MSG UFO shirts as well, because instead of the AOI MSG, we might as well go SOR MSG. I just think it works. And all right, there's a tank top going up for Kira right now. And it's awesome. Awesome. There's lots of good stuff on there right now. Jeremy Jones with a massive super chat, just like that. Boom. $4.99. He's like, here, Dave. I'm like, thanks, Jeremy. And big thank you to G West, Surf Jer, Melissa, and Grant for the awesome super chats as well, everyone. It's a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you so much. Brazelhoff. Yes. Imagine how much harder you could rock if you didn't use a reverse headstock on your guitar. Reverse headstocks, Guru, are only used by people who have breakfast for dinner.
I did not know that. I did not know that.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah, I don't want to use that. I don't want to use a reverse headstock, whatever that is.
It's when okay, so if you look right here,
Okay.
on this guitar right here,
Yes.
this is the headstock. Okay. What they do is they flip it upside down, like Jimi Hendrix used the reverse headstock. It looks ugly.
But isn't that like the hallmark of like a Fender Stratocaster though?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Hello, gorgeous Amy WC. There is the stunning and talented. Oh, hey, Clam. And who else has arrived here? Let's see here. Grandpa Holland in Australia. Nice to have you here, buddy. And the Michael Leger, everyone. The Michael Leger. And Lester Taylor, good to see you. And let's see who else we got here. Xochitl Paez. Only because I like the name. And she's coming to Vegas, everyone.
Nice.
Coming to Vegas. April 22nd to 24th. See, look, here's a perfect example. I have a reverse headstock on my Gibson Firebird and gaze at it as I eat eggs Benedict at night. See, that's exactly what I'm talking about, Guru.
Yeah.
By the way, how long did you ground your children for having breakfast for dinner that one night the last time you were on?
It was just pure beating. I took all my frustrations out with a belt. That's just easier that way.
Good. There is the gorgeous and amazingly talented Kara McIver from Saskatchewan. Everybody wave at her. She will wave back because the Flatlander will see you. Hello, Kara McIver. Here we go. Hour 2.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club, and he has Zakuska. Zakuska is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with the crypto guru, Ronald Murphy. He is back for the Christmas edition of the Guru Time. Yes, Guru Time is special time for all of us here at Spaced Out Radio. You can find any of Ron's books on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and especially his On series. It is an incredible series of books on all sorts of North American monsters. Guru, welcome back.
Hey, thank you very much. And I also wanted to tell you and the listeners, relatively recently, within the last month, Walmart actually picked up some of my books. So my books are now available at Walmart.
Oh, very nice. Is that just in the U.S.?
I don't know. Somebody's going to have to try that up there in the Great White North.
I'm going this weekend. I will go look this weekend.
That sounds
good. If I see some serious Guru time, I'm going to autograph a few of them.
There you go. There you go, man. There you go. Whoever comes out to Vegas will definitely get some autographed books in those grab bags.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Beautiful. This is why we love the Guru around here. All right, Guru, I want to get into some monster talk with you. What is the greatest encounter you have heard?
Well, I mean, like from at all times, you mean? I like the one from 1924. Whenever the gentleman up there, I believe it was around Vancouver, I'm not mistaken. Is that where Osborne was from?
Are you talking Albert Ostman?
Osman, yeah, right. Was
Yes.
he Vancouver? That's what I thought.
That's where he was. He was sailing out of, traveling out of Vancouver up north along the coastline, looking for some gold.
Yes, that's right. Doing some prospecting, and so his story is so believable because it's just kind of like a guy out there in the woods. And then one evening he discovers that as he's sleeping, he feels himself being picked up. And what seems like for hours, something carries him through the woods, lets him down unceremoniously, and he awakens to find this little area, this little grove, where a Bigfoot family exists. And he was with them for several days. There was what he called an adolescent female Bigfoot, which he assumed that he was taken there for as some sort of gift. He gradually gets away from from this family of Bigfoot by giving the male, presumably the father of these creatures, some snuff, which makes the Bigfoot very sick, and he's able to get out of there as quickly as possible. But there's some really cool, anecdotal things that go on. As he's getting the hell out of there, he talks about, finding a quail's nest, I believe, and making eggs, one morning, like just kind of this really very natural sounding stuff that happens as well too. So it's not only a monster tale, it's also about his, journey out of there for survival. I've always liked that story. That story scares the heck out of me ever since I've been a kid. But there's something about it that rings so true. And it was many years later whenever he swore that this was actually, a true tale. And you really have no reason why to not accept it. And what's so curious about that area as well is that that's still hotspot for Bigfoot activity, even to this day.
It really is. And that entire area, one of our listeners, Bim Jim, actually lives just south of that area by maybe 100 kilometers or so, if that. But that entire coastline, right up to Bella Coola and Prince Rupert, is filled with Sasquatch legend and stories. Right. It's unbelievable, unbelievable. We have a bunch of questions here for you, Guru, if you don't mind.
Sure.
All right. Purpose and Grace is asking, does the number 8 for reindeer have significance?
Purpose and grace. I'm not so sure about the number, because numbers do represent things. 7 can be like, 7 or 5 sometimes represents completion. I'm not sure exactly what 8 is going on, especially in the Nordic kind of mythologies. But when we were on break, I was talking about the significance of the reindeer names. When we talk about the idea of this coming from a culture that believed in this sky god, when we go back to Odin, think about some of these deer names, the reindeer names. So we have Donner and Blitzen, which means thunder and lightning, and we also have comet. So we have these things are already elements of the natural world and of the sky. And that was just conveyed over then to the reindeer as well, too. But I think that's very interesting that you asked about the number. And I'm sure there is some sort of significance in there as well, too. But the number, at least in regard to this, is unfortunately probably only Clement Moore, the person that wrote the story. He probably came up with that, unfortunately. But still an interesting question nonetheless.
All right, let's move on to another question. Bim Jim. Ronald, have you heard of the Sasquatch-sized invisible entity called Predator?
Are you talking about the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie? Because I'll tell you, this is true. And you've talked about this before, Dave, years ago, whenever you had your experience. And I've spoken to very many people about this. Whenever they experience a Bigfoot, whenever I say they, I'm talking about, the 50% of the people that I interview, they claim that there is some sort of cloaking a part of this creature. It's able to cloak itself, and invariably they all go back to using the predator as the inspiration for the kind of image that they're trying to bring up. So I think that might be what you're referring to there, Bim Jim. I assume that that's the case, because if you can remember, Dave, you said
they're also calling it the Glimmer Man now.
The Glimmer. I see. Yes. But I think the Predator has something to say about it too, because I've heard people even talk about the sound that the Predator makes, that kind of gurgling sound, almost like if it has some, like almost like a purr or some sort of monstrous purr, if you will. But I think that it's appropriate to use Predator because it, was out in the forest and it kind of camouflaged itself as well too. But I remember having some deep discussions with you, Dave, and you talking about the idea. It seemed as if there was a cloaking device going on.
All right. Andreas is asking, Dave, have you seen any cryptoid or chimeric creatures like Bigfoot? Yes, I have seen Sasquatch. I have seen a little creature. I call it a wood nymph. My son and I saw that. Those are the only cryptids that I've seen. I was within 100 feet of two Sasquatch back in 2013. Up here in 2018, we three of us got chased out of the forest by two of them. I think there was three there because they usually travel in threes for their sentries. And then the wood nymph was really strange that my son and I saw. He was about 3 years old. We were out geocaching on a little trail here. And down below, there was on the trail on the left, there was an embankment going down about 30, 40 feet to the lake. And this little thing about 20 feet in front of us comes walking up onto the trail and stops, looks at us, and takes off back down that embankment. And this thing looked like a rotten 2x4 with legs and feet. It was.
How tall was it? How big was it?
Oh, maybe 18 inches.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you, whenever you had seen, you had your Bigfoot sighting, did it seem natural? Did it seem that they were working within their environment, or did they seem to be kind of just placed there for this particular experience?
They were just there.
They were just there, right?
I have a real feeling, Guru, knowing the way things were going back then. I have a real feeling that we were supposed to see them.
Right. So that's my thing. What was going on in your life at that time? Now, you weren't over on the radio side yet, correct?
No, not even a thought.
Yeah. And that's what seems to happen in these cases. I've spoken to people, they've come up to my table at conferences, and, these are big guys. These are no nonsense guys. And they'll come up and say, "You don't believe in this crap, do you?" And they'll walk away. And then I'll watch them. And, 20 minutes later, an hour later, sometimes even a day later, they come up and said, I want to tell you a story. And they will break down in tears. They're telling you something that has impacted them systemically, mind, body, and spirit. That is the reason why I keep on coming around to the idea that if you see one of these things, almost look at it as if it is a gift. And that was a lot of First Nations and Native American cultures would have thought as well too. That to see these particular creatures, it's not an accident. It's kind of like an unspoken pact between you and the creature. And there is something going on there more than just seeing it. It's making a statement to you, and you, in a way, are making a statement to it as well, right? It's what it's doing. It's unveiling itself and saying, "I'm here." But unless you say, "I see you," it doesn't make any difference. So by your seeing this creature, that opened your eyes not only to what was standing in front of you, but to an entire new life, which you're now undertaking.
I agree with you. I agree with you fully, my friend. Agree with you fully. As the crypto guru is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio, Sam wants to know, has anyone estimated how many Bigfoots there are in the lands of North America? I
Yeah.
don't think so.
You know what? I think that it was Jeff Meldrum again. He put the estimate somewhere around 14,000. I think that's somebody that wanted to put a guesstimate down there. Or you know what? No, it wasn't Jeff Meldrum. It was Grover Krantz. Grover Krantz, the late Grover Krantz. However, I I'll throw my little 2 cents in there. I thought about this as well too. So I look at the world of the great ape, and there's something in that world called the MVP. That's usually for all kinds of animals, but for the MVP, which means it's the most viable population. So what you're going to look at is how many individuals that you can have to be reproductive before any kind of genetic mutations come about that's detrimental to that particular group. And for the great apes, you have to have a breeding population of around 800 before something major will happen, either phenotypically or genotypically. So for something to not impact this species negatively, you need at least 800 of these creatures. Now, think about this for a second. 800 of these creatures spread over North and South America. You're wondering why they're not being seen. If there's only 800 over that kind of expanse, and they only get together every now and then for breeding, maybe even 2 years, we don't even know what kind of, it might be a breeding cycle every few years or whatever. 800 over that type of distance, it's surprisingly that they would be seen at all. So people say, if they're out there, why aren't you seeing them? Well, it's possible, especially if you look at an analogy in the real world, as we call it in the scientific world, that we can say 800 great apes can exist before there's any kind of problems with its DNA due to inbreeding. So I would say 800 over with throughout North America.
I think it's more than that, Ron. North America is a big place.
It is. But what we could say is, I would look at it this way. To play the devil's advocate, if somebody would say to me, how many are out there? I would say you would need at least 800.
All right, let's get to another question here from the Michael Leger. Michael Leger. Always got to say it twice. And he's asking, Guru, got any new Banshee stories of late?
I do not, but I will tell you, Banshee stories are out there. And I do encounter them whenever I'm doing research, especially in the fairy realm, because the word Banshee actually means female fairy. But so whenever you come across Banshee stories, and I think that the last one I uncovered was probably from the 1980s or 1990s. So within the last 30 or 40 years, it seems that people encounter Banshees if they are part of of a Celtic background. So, for instance, if you're of Italian descent, you're not going to encounter a Banshee. It seems to be, connected with your heritage in some way. And that is whenever I came about it, that somebody was in America, and they encountered a Banshee, and they had a great, Celtic last name or whatever. And they saw it as kind of like a premonition of what was going on within their ancestral heritage, their line of descent or ascent or whatever. So that's the last Banshee story that I had heard. So unfortunately, I don't have any.
All right. From Sri Lanka, Kason is asking, have you ever seen DMT elves, Dave or Guru? I have not.
What is a DMT elf?
Well, using DMT to get the experience, man. Drugs, hallucinogens.
No, I have not. No. But that's sort of beyond the pill, a lot of these things, when we talk about, especially if we go back into antiquity, the idea of interacting with these kind of spirits that inhabit this world and the other world, that straddle both existences, that was in the realm of the work of the shaman. And many shaman relied upon psychedelics in order to get to that trance, because getting into that kind of trance is not an easy thing for human beings to get into. So often there was, things that were used. So I think that, getting into that nature, you'd probably see them a lot more easily than we would see them now.
Arlene is wondering, do you feel that cryptids and extraterrestrials are related in some way?
Oh, okay. So I would like to hear what her answer is. So here in Western Pennsylvania, where I am from, we get a lot of Bigfoot sightings that are in conjunction with UFO sightings. Sometimes they've been seen getting into UFOs. Sometimes they've been seen exiting UFOs. Sometimes they're seen with glowing orbs in their hands. Sometimes people shoot at them and they disappear. That is almost uniquely a Western Pennsylvania thing for whatever reason. Up in Erie, Pennsylvania, which is in northern Pennsylvania here, there are some reports of a UFO landing on the beach at Lake Erie and a Bigfoot getting out. But mostly it's Western Pennsylvania. I'm sure that, every place around America has some story relating to that. But here, as a kid growing up, that was one of the big things, that Bigfoot had some sort of extraterrestrial lineage, some sort of connection, what have you. I'm not really sold on that. I don't think that you need to have an extraterrestrial connection to suggest that's why we're not finding any bodies or having any kind of proof that is being found. But I am still open up to the idea. My mind's not closed. Of course, Dave, I will ask you as well, too. What is your feeling on this?
I completely agree that the two are connected. They're intertwined. You can throw in ghosts in there as well, spirit activity, especially if the idea that UFOs are also coming from other dimensions.
Absolutely.
That makes a lot more sense.
That's a good point. I think the word that throws me is extraterrestrial, because we could indeed be talking about something that is not coming from light years away, but coming right from within this world that we live in, just a dimension away, And I think that kind of blows your mind whenever you think of that kind of stuff.
Very true. And yet, like for instance, we have, I've seen two now where ghost hunting teams have been in haunted locations and their cameras end up taking pictures of extraterrestrials.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There was something called the Skull Experience, SCOLE. It was done in England. I believe it was in the 70s. It might have been in the 80s. It's where a group of people gathered together to make contact with the spirit realm, So they were using things like Ouija boards and automatic writing. And over a period of time, they would start getting poltergeist type of activity, like things moving and knocks and such. But then they were getting EVPs, and then pretty soon it came into interactions. And whenever these entities, these ghosts, reveal themselves, they look like the Greys. That's what it was. Really, one of those things that was startling to me whenever I saw these pictures. I got to interview the gentleman by the name of Robin Foy, who was one of the lead investigators on this. And he said that it would develop to the point that these things were showing themselves. And one time they were sitting at the table, much like you would have done a seance, whenever everybody's gathered together and they're of the same mind and they're of the opinion that this can happen. They're all open to the possibility. They're all opened up to allowing to become a conduit to this other world. And they said that a small what they called a UFO manifested at the table. It kind of moved each person that was seated at the table as if it was analyzing or observing them, and then it disappeared. I think when we talk about UFOs and we talk about ghosts, we talk about Bigfoot, we talk about anything, we have to keep an open mind. And we talked about this at the beginning of the show as well too, because we don't know the origin of any of these things. So much of this lies in a gray matter, this gray area. And this, as a researcher, is what fascinates me the most, because it seems as if all these things are coming from a common source, but we as people have segmented them, put them in their own categories.
All right, we'll continue with audience questions when we return after the break. The crypto guru, Ronald Murphy, continues with his beautiful cryptid talk right here on Spaced Out Radio, so stay tuned. All right, we are clear, buddy.
Sweet.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out.
There we go. Go there. And having fun, Guru?
Every time I'm on here, buddy, I have a blast. Every single time I'm on here.
Well, that's good. That's because the Michael Leger is here. The Michael Leger.
That's right.
All right, Tammy's question will be next.
Okay.
I think there's an estimated how many black bears in North America? How many black bears? Estimated to be 900,000 black bears in North America. Yeah. And is the cave monster in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer Bigfoot or what? That's a Yeti.
That's a Yeti, yep.
Yeah. Gary the Dutchman is here. Hey, do you want to piss off Gary the Dutchman over Christmas?
Sure.
I can tell you exactly how to do it. The first thing you need to do to piss off Gary the Dutchman and any Dutch person in general is you have to ask him for a deal. Because there's nothing worse that a Dutchman hates than when someone asks him for a deal. So what you do is you go to mightymoosebeard.com, you grab yourself some moose oil here, some nice beard oil. And I don't have a beard right now, but you take a little bit like this, you just drop it into your hands like so, and then you massage it in. So for me, I'm going to put it in my hair because it's very natural, no chemicals. It helps prevent split ends, so it can be used male or female, doesn't matter. All right, and you use promo code SOR 2019 when you're getting your beard oil, and that's going to really, really aggravate Gary because he's going to give you a discount. When we set up, when he came up to me and said, look, man, I really want Spaced Out Radio to advertise Mighty Moose Beard Oil. And I said, Gary, I need a discount for my listeners. And he's like, Dave, I'm Dutch. I can't do that. That's illegal in my culture. And I'm like, Gary, I know you want to screw every customer for every penny you can. But if you want my SOR listeners, you need to be able to give them a deal. So finally, after literally about 3 years of haggling, all right, it took me 3 years, he finally gave up and gave us the SOR 2019 promo code for our audience. So go to mightymoosebeard.com, use promo code SOR 2019, and get your Mighty Moose beard oil and really piss off a Dutchman this Christmas, because there's nothing more they hate than when you take a few pennies out of their pockets. MightyMooseBeard.com. It's true. True story.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm. I wish I could make that up. Well, let's see here. Where's some questions here? Okay, we got that one done. And we will start off with Lester's question here. And we'll go from there after the break. Big J, how you doing? Nice to see you. Who else do we have? On Twitch, Cosmic House Turtle. Thank you for joining us. SOR MSG shirts. You can get them, Charles, on our website. Blackbird, nice to see you. I'm way behind here, guys. Gorgeous Elaine, nice to see you. Let's see here. Oh, we're caught up there. All right. Big thank you to our super chatters, Jeremy, G West, Surf Jer, Melissa, and Grant. Thank you so much for the love and support. Thank you, everybody who's given us a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways tonight. And don't forget, if you're new, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell. We are here 7 days a week. Don't forget, this weekend, starting at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, Lynn Wallington with Spaced Out Weekend. And then this is the debut show starting at 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays. It's John Hudson, Gemma Jade, Big Willie for After Hours both nights. Here we go, everyone. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I'm Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Really do appreciate it. Want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on with the crypto guru, Ronald Murphy. You can find all of his books on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and now in Walmart. Yeah, Ronald L. Murphy Jr. He's an award-winning author. He's got a fantastic beard, wears a great hat. And Ronnie, welcome back.
You know, I wish I had the big beard. I do. But again, you know, it was one of those things where I was trying to trim it up. I made a mistake and I had to go down to almost. It happens. That's the bane of our existence.
It's true. Very, very true. Let's start off with Lester's question here.
Okay.
Guru, what is your opinion on the Jersey Devil coming from human origin?
So the idea of Mother Leeds, you know, this is the story here, that she had 12 children and her 13th child was born and she cursed it or somehow committed it to the devil because she didn't want to have any more of these children, or there's some superstitious beliefs that she may have been a witch as well and kind of sanctified her 13th child for the devil. Whatever the case may be, as soon as the baby is born, it quickly mutates into this flying gargoyle type creature, goes around the room a couple times, then up and out of the chimney. Then some version, it kills his mother before it leaves. These are great stories. But also, if we are looking for a flying cryptid, you have to have some sort of analogy, at least in my opinion, to the natural world as well. Now, that's not to say that when we deal with things like the Jersey Devil, that it cannot be 100% paranormal or 100% metaphysical. It doesn't necessarily have to have, scientific framework in which to exist. But I like to look and make sure, because if we're dealing with a creature that lives in the woods, I want to figure out what other creatures like it live in the woods, and could it indeed reside there. So the Pine Barrens is a place, not too far away from Atlantic City. That is a great place where mobsters still hide bodies. It's wild, wild pigs. There's bear. There's deer there. And it would be a great place for something called the Jersey Devil to reside. I have never seen one. I would love to think that something like that is out there. Napoleon's brother actually fired a cannon at it, what he described as the Jersey Devil, as it was flying across the ocean. There was such fear of the Jersey Devil in New Jersey and in eastern Pennsylvania that whenever it was sighted, they would actually close down schools and factories because there was a fear that this creature would prey upon those people in that area. It indeed did cause mass hysteria whenever it was seen. And occasionally, every now and then, it's seen again. But the jury's still out on this for me. I don't think it has a human origin. I think that we're dealing with a cryptid that would have something to do with the natural world there. And could a flying creature reside in the Pine Barrens without being seen? Absolutely, it could, without a doubt. So I'm going more on a physical nature rather than a paranormal one.
All right, let's move on here on Spaced Out Radio. Felipe down in Mexico says, Guru, do you know about the Llorona from Latin America, and do you consider it to be a banshee?
Yeah, that's a great question because we had a banshee a question earlier. So whenever I talked about the idea of the Celtic banshee, the Irish banshee, being associated with heritage or with one's ethnic background, I think that what you're doing here, Felipe, is actually hitting very close to the mark. The Celts may have their version, and I think when we talk about people, either Hispanic people or people that have ancestral backgrounds in, Mesoamerica or South American native populations, I think that we're dealing with the same type of thing. Some sort of ominous presence, something that to warn you about a future occurrence. But it seems to be visiting upon very strict hereditary lines. So what's going on there? I don't think that this is much as a cryptid as it possibly could be. See, I don't like to just throw around the term ghost or anything, but it seems as if it is ancestral and there is something coming from your background to warn you specifically of something. But it seems to be connected to you intrinsically, but through bloodlines. Truly, I mean, there's no other way to describe it. So I think that what you do, I think that there is a great connection there between the Llorona and the banshee.
All right, let's move on here. Surf Chair, one of our great veterans who listens to this show. What about skinwalkers or shamans turning into changelings?
I never heard of them turning into changelings, but I've heard of shamans turning into skinwalkers. Absolutely. And shamans turning into werewolves and shamans turning into a whole bunch of different things. So the idea of the shaman is to enter a trance-like state. So in that trance-like state, he can go into another world psychically, and communicate with the spirits or the entities that dwell over there and bring that knowledge back to our side, whether it is advice or some sort of healing that needs to be discerned. So we talk about this a lot in First Nations and Native American folklore, whenever the shaman can transform into the creature or into the spirit animal that he's getting advice from. And we also know that in Europe, this would happen as well, too, because there's a lot of cave paintings of shamans turning into deer or bear or hyenas even. So the idea that the shaman transforms into something is quite ancient and it is ubiquitous among all kinds of groups of people across the world. So that's a given. Now, the idea of turning into a changeling, that's something that's rather loaded, because a changeling is this fairy that is left in a crib whenever a human baby is abducted. So that's, you're kind of blending a couple different folklores there. But the changeling is something that I'm always fascinated in. It's usually a sickly fairy, and sometimes people will try to care for it as their own. But it is one of those things that a huge interest of mine. One of the through my research, one of the closest, I guess, answers to this changeling question comes about from groups that are attempting to conquer a particular area. So you would have groups coming into a place, and your native culture would be dispersed into the wild. Okay, that happens all over the place. So if we think about ancient Britain, whenever the Romans came in, they would take over your cities, and then you would have to live on the periphery because you have been conquered. Now, whenever that happens, you would start running out of food, and you would start running out of a lot of different things. So the most vulnerable section of your society would be your infant. So the infant starvation would start taking place. Trying to keep your baby warm. The scholarship is pointing out that a mother facing this kind of ordeal would not want to see her child die, so she would sneak into an encampment of those people that had conquered them and put the baby in the crib in hopes that that baby would at least make it in that world. It's very sad, but I think it makes sense. Of all the different studies that I've done and all the different explanations for the changeling, this hit home the most for me, and I think that does make sense.
All right, let's move on to another question. The Michael Leger. Yes, the Michael Leger. Guru, have you ever seen aliens or UFOs?
I have seen unidentified flying objects that I cannot describe. Whenever I was a wee boy, I probably was about 5 years old. I remember my mom calling me outside and saying that there was a light in the sky. Now, if you would hold your thumb out at arm's distance, it was about the size of your fingernail, which is pretty big. And it was a red light that was on the horizon. I thought that was very odd. It was very low. So it skirted the horizon and then swung back and then went over our house. And as it went over our house, within that green was, in the back of it, was 6 white lights that almost looked like, rocket boosters or whatever. So in my little mind, that's what I saw. I saw a UFO. I don't know exactly what it is. We lived in an area that didn't have a lot of military bases around it, but that's not to say it wasn't a military thing. But I did see something in the sky that I could not explain. And I've seen a lot of lights. And I think that any researcher worth their salt, whenever they go into the woods, they see things that are inexplicable, such as earth lights. And I've seen a lot of these kind of lights that I cannot explain. And I've seen lights moving on a horizon, which I assumed were airplanes, and then disappear into trees and start weaving around them. So the light that I was seeing, that I was mistaken to be a UFO or an airplane, was actually a light on the horizon that was not very far away at all, and then went into the trees and acted as if it was some sort of intelligence to it. So I've seen many things in the sky that I cannot explain. Whether they are UFOs or aliens, I do not know, but they were definitely unidentified to me.
It's always aliens, Guru.
Yep.
Always
aliens.
Lester wants to know, Guru, have what is it here? Guru, have you heard of shadow people? If so, what is your thoughts?
Yeah, so especially whenever it comes to ghost investigation, we talk about the classics whenever it comes to ghosts. So we have the idea of poltergeist, we have the idea of residual hauntings, we have the idea of classic or intelligent hauntings, and then we also have this, demonic hauntings. But then we have the shadow people, which are this kind of nebulous haunting that doesn't really fit into any of these kind of frameworks. I will tell you this, I have experienced one shadow person in my life, and it was in a store that was it was a new age shop, and there was a woman in there with me, and we both saw it at the same time. It looked as if a shadow just simply went through the room and disappeared into the wall. I cannot describe it. I cannot explain it, but it looked as if somebody was casting a shadow, and that person just simply wasn't there, but the shadow was, and it disappeared into the wall. I mean, that's what I saw, and that's what she saw. I don't know what these things are. I've heard people say that they act intelligently, as if they know that they can be seen at times, and then I've heard other people say that that they're just wandering about. I don't know what's going on there. I don't necessarily categorize them as ghosts either. I think that we're dealing with something else, something a little bit stranger. Could these things be interdimensional travelers? Are these the things that people sometimes see whenever they're doing mirror scrying or mirror magic? A lot of people reported looking into the mirror and having these other figures moving within the mirror itself. So I think there might be something going on there. I think that, at the end of the day, we might be getting down to the fact that these are indeed, travelers between dimensions.
They're very weird shadow people.
Yes, they are. Have you
All
ever
right.
experienced any, Dave?
One.
Okay.
And the funny part about that one was this is way before Space Out Radio. This is going back to like 2005.
Hmm.
And I came around. I was working at the radio station in Vancouver, and about 3 weeks previous, 3-4 weeks previous, I had heard Art Bell on Coast to Coast talking about shadow people, and it just intrigued me on my way home. So fast forward a few weeks later, I was renting a basement suite, and I had to unlock the gate, and the entry door to my basement suite was behind the house. So as I'm coming around the corner, I noticed that my sensor light is on.
Mhm.
So I'm thinking, oh goodness, is there a bear or a raccoon or maybe a cougar that has triggered this light? And I come around the corner very slowly. I take it wide in order to have a look, because if it's a bear or a cougar, that's a lot of trouble. And there is this shadow person standing at my door. And I look at it, and I just stand there. And it turned and it looked at me. Then it did a complete 180 and ran right through a giant brick retaining wall.
No. Wow.
What I remember about it, Ron, was that there were no hands and no feet.
Mhm. Yeah, these are strange things. I interviewed somebody yesterday that claimed ever since she was a child, she was seeing a shadow man that was wearing a hat. Now, a lot of that common things are called hat man. I'm sure you've heard of that as well, too.
Yes.
And my daughter, too, has reported seeing a shadow person that was wearing a hat. So it seems as if these things are cross-cultural, because other countries talk about them as well, too. But again, I don't think that we're dealing with ghosts here. I think it's something completely different.
Whatever we're dealing with, it is part of the entire mystery.
It's a part of it's right. It's not separated from, it's part of the mystery. You're right.
All right, let's move on to another question here, as we got about 6 minutes before we have to go to break at the top of the hour. Crypto guru Ronald Murphy is here. Amy is wondering, what about the Cherokee Unisundi? I'm probably butchered that. and I apologize. The Cherokee Little People.
Yeah, so I love First Nation reports of little people, and the Cherokee have them, but also do a lot of the Plains Indians as well as the Choctaw and the Native Americans around the Great Lakes regions as well too. Um, so the little people, and one of the reasons why it's so fascinating to the cryptozoological world is that apparently a mummy has been uncovered of one of these little Cherokee little people, and it is now vanished. But I remember watching a program, it might have been like Unsolved Mysteries or something, whenever there was an x-ray done to show that there was actually bones inside of this very, very small humanoid. And people had talked about that it was, it was an infant that died of hydrocephalus or whatever, these different types of things. But it was found in such a position of honor in a cave that a few people thought that this was actually, an adult, a person that was just very, very small. And of course, other people also thought that it was an extraterrestrial in origin. But one of the best things about studying the little people is to show that the Native American cultures in North and South America also have a tradition of the little people, the same way Europe does and every country around the world does.
Up here, there's little people sightings.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. And a lot of times they are found terrorizing First Nations people because they are considered the tricksters.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, they are considered protectors of the land as well. And it's believed that maybe if you are the target of the day or you're not respecting the land, they will try to take you away, which I believe leads to a lot of the missing people with David Paulides.
I think as well too. What's very cool too is that the Wampanoag Indians in the Massachusetts area, one of the places they called the Bridgewater Triangle, this place that has all kinds of sightings. There's also little people within that triangle called the Pukwudgie, and they are known to actually war against the Native Americans before the white man came. But that they're still in existence now. They are still, they're still mischievous. They still bring a lot of turmoil to that area even to this day.
Well, you know what? It's something that's going to be very interesting to see. That is something that I would love to see. I really would. And now these people, these little people are said to be between 12 and 18 inches tall. Yep. They're said to live in their own communities. They will stalk you and they will pester you and steal from you and make your life a living hell if you haven't or if you've wronged the environment or something they care about.
Sure. They act within the same framework and under the same rules that the traditional fairies of England operate under, and they also operate under the same rules as the elves and the Nordic and the Alpine cultures as well too. So again, we're talking about connecting the dots, separated by time and space, but still falling under the same category and still acting within the same way that you would expect them to act. So again, like I said, if we connect the dots, a very strange picture is starting to develop.
Very true. Very true. We got 2 minutes, Guru. Okay. Let's go to Aaron, who is asking, have you heard of any recent stories of Mothman?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Mothman sightings are happening a lot more than people know, but they're happening in strange places, not in Point Pleasant anymore. They're happening in Chicago. I mean, they're happening out in the Midwest of the United States more than anything. So I think that what we're talking about here is the Mothman is now evolving. It's becoming more a part of our culture. The same way Bigfoot is now part of our culture. Mothman is now becoming more than just this entity that was an ominous forebearer of the destruction of the bridge there in Point Pleasant. I think that it says more about its cultural development than if it's actually happening. So that's one of those interesting type of cryptids where you can see an evolution and seeing a part of it now becoming an archetype in and of itself.
I don't know what to believe about this.
It,
I
it,
mean, I believe you. I believe Lon Strickler, Butch Witkowski, Eric Altman, people who've worked on these cases. Okay, there's very brilliant people there, but this one just trips me out, man.
me too. So I've been to Point Pleasant. I've spoke at the Mothman Festival down there. It is a difficult thing to kind of uncover, and it also has a great Native American tradition as well too. That this might have been a curse put on the land, or this might have been something that was summoned by Chief Cornstalk. There's a lot to this story than just a flying humanoid. Whenever we look at all the evidence, and then whenever Keel became involved in this process as well too, that's when we start seeing things like the Men in Black showing up, and we have a lot of weird things going on that is more along the lines of extraterrestrial than anything.
All right, we got the guru for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. We love having the guru time around here. Ronald L. Murphy Jr. You can find his books on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and now at Walmart. We'll be back with Hour 3 of Spaced Out Radio next.
We're adding to the
All right,
entertainment
buddy.
online.
I'm just going to take a quick bathroom break. I'll be right
Oh
back.
yeah, I'm going to take a break too. We're actually having a thunderstorm here, Western Pennsylvania, December 11th. We're having a thunderstorm.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's about 60 degrees.
All right. Guru, we got about just over a minute left.
All right.
We'll start off with Kaiju's question. I'm having a blast here, Guru. I want to say a big thank you to Jeremy, G. West, Surf Chair, Melissa, and Grant for the amazing super chats tonight. We really do appreciate the love that you are giving us and supporting this show. If you're brand new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, ring that bell. Got some great swag up on our store on our website, spacedoutradio.com. You can support us there as well. And when you get some gear, take a picture, and that way I can put it up on our website and show it off to everybody on how USOR. And yeah, here we go, everyone.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Go to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Zakuska. Zakuska is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. For the final time tonight, we got the crypto guru, Ronald Murphy. Ronald L. Murphy Jr. is one of the top writers with everything to do with monsters, legends, and folklore. You can find his books on Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and now in Walmart as well. Check out his On series. It would be a great addition to your library. Guru, welcome back.
Hey, thanks. Again, the time just flew by. It feels like I was abducted, and now I'm just finally waking up at this point right now. So it flew by. We got like 20 minutes now.
Oh, we love you, man. We love it when you are here.
You guys as well too.
You're always entertaining for our audience, and I always appreciate that, my friend. All right, let's go to a question from our audience, and this one comes from Kaiju, who is asking, are there any scary Bigfoot or Dogman encounters that you have heard of occurring around Christmas?
I have. They're not scary, and none of them are related to Dogman, unfortunately. But I've come across many reports of people stating that the creature that would be called Bigfoot was seen coming into yards to either look at trees that were decorated outside or coming up close to look inside to see things that were decorated inside the house. So it might be out of curiosity, or it might just be kind of, wondering why these human beings would take a tree inside of the house. It might be something they even followed the people from cutting the tree back to their homes as well, too. But I think there is a bit of a curiosity there, especially whenever houses border up along woods. Because I used to live, in a place that was pretty rural, and I know that we would even have deer coming up to our houses whenever we were decorating them. So I think it's just one of those things where you put something out that's out of the usual, and things will naturally, come and take a gander.
All right. Well, curiosity this time of year. Do you think that creatures like Dogmen or Bigfoot or other cryptid creatures pick up on human energy?
Oh, I think so. Absolutely. I think even from a self-help point of view, because I don't know if you ever knew this or any of your listeners knew this or not, but I actually worked for a time as a counselor. Okay, so I wrote a book called Harmonics of Humanity, and one of my thesis statements within that book is the idea that we're all made up of energy, and frequency can shape who we are, but it can also disrupt our vibrations as well too. And that's not some sort of new agey thing. I mean, there is a lot to be said about this idea of energy, and I think that we put energy out into that world. And sometimes it's negative and sometimes it's positive. But I think that we as human beings feed off of each other's energy, but other living creatures feed off of it as well too.
Do you think then that they are curious about how we live, what we do in our spare time? What are we doing in our homes?
Right. Well, I'm not sure if I ever mentioned this on your show before, but I had an elderly woman come up to me about 4 years ago, and she said, "Let me tell you about my Bigfoot encounter." And I said, "Excellent, yes." So she and I became, correspondents. We became friends, and she told me a very lengthy story of a Bigfoot sighting that she had that occurred within her house. She was going about her day-to-day chores, and she said this very large 8-foot creature manifested itself within her home. It didn't speak to her, but it would obviously some sort of telepathic communication. And it would just come in sometimes several times a week, sometimes, once a month. And it would just observe what she was doing. It liked to watch her fold clothing. It liked to watch her vacuum clean. And she got to the point where she was calling it her laundry ape because it liked to come around whenever she was doing laundry. And then just one day it said it wasn't going to return, and it vanished, and that was it. She did not live out in the woods. She actually lived in an apartment complex. So whatever was going on there, and I had no reason to think that she was lying. I had no reason to think that she was hoaxing. She had a very genuine story to tell me. And if we can at least gather a glimmer of the truth that she may have been experiencing, then it seems to suggest that these creatures are attracted to our culture and our life ways the same way that we would be attracted to them if we had access.
Nicola is asking, Guru, what is your personal best Bigfoot evidence that you've seen or found?
And this is one of those things where I did bring it up on your show, so I don't feel like I'm beating a dead horse. But I will talk about this again. So this was probably about 4 years ago, possibly 5, or about between 4 and 5 years ago. And there was a snowstorm the night before, and the kids, the school was canceled the next day. So I knew that I would have to call off work and be at home with my children because they were young at the time, So I was going to be at home with my kids. So I went outside to get a breath of fresh air. And this was early in the morning because we usually get up around 7 o'clock in the morning to hear if schools were canceled. So this was probably about 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. Nobody had moved. All the cars were still blanketed in snow. And we were living in a very rural area that bordered up against some woods. And as I went outside, I noticed that there was a trackway through my yard. And not only a trackway, but the tracks were bare feet. And not only were they bare feet, they were bare human feet. There was 5 toes on them. They were probably about the size of a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, somewhere around that. They were very small tracks. And I began to look to see it. Like, I wanted to find out where these came from. And they appeared in the middle of my yard. And I know that this is, I talked about this before. This seems a little bit hard to believe, but it appeared as a right track again, then a left and right track. It was almost as if this thing had stepped out of something or was slowly materializing into some sort of physical form. So it appeared in this very short little trackway that would wound itself from right track to a series of tracks up to my dining room window, where it gazed into my dining room window, and then went down over the hill where they disappeared again. So look, I'm a Bigfoot investigator. I get it. But for something that I have been investigating to now look like it's investigating me was really a turn of the tables, what was going on here. But that is really one of the best evidences that I've ever had in my experience, because it seemed to be presenting itself to me. Again, I've never seen this creature, but I took copious amounts of pictures on this. And it was just the strangest things, because it was early in the morning. Nobody was outside. Nobody had even shoveled their cars out yet. And there was no, child walking around in bare feet in, sub-zero weather.
Maybe it was ghostly, my friend.
Something like that as well, too. Can spirits leave behind tracks? I'm not sure. Of course, I contacted Stan Gordon, who is the godfather of the paranormal here in Western Pennsylvania, and he said in the area that I live in, for about the past 30 years, there have been reports of very small Bigfoot tracks. Which sent me off on a tangent to find out, more about these kind of small feet, as I call them. And we do have a precedent for them in Pennsylvania, and throughout the entire world, there are precedences for small feet as well.
Very interesting. All right, let's move on. Charles wants to know, why do you think there are no Bigfoot bodies found?
Oh, look. And this is when it comes into really cool conjecture there, Charles. Okay, so let us say that they are physical whenever they come into this world for a brief time, and then they go back into their other dimension. So the idea of interdimensionality could work out here, that they're only physical in this world for a very brief time, and they're not here long enough to die. There are other things as well, too. One is they have a culture in which they bury their dead. That's a possibility as well, too. There's also the possibility that within the Bigfoot proto-culture that they eat their dead. That is also seen in human populations, or at least in older human populations around the world as well. So there's different ways to look at this. It could be simply coming down to a fact of numbers. There's not a lot of these creatures out there to begin with, and then whenever one dies, the chance of you finding that body is going to be very rare indeed, because nature likes to convert itself back into nature again very, very quickly. So that is the hypothesis that are out there. They eat their dead, they bury their dead, or they are not fully here long enough to become deceased in this world.
What about the possibility that they are taken to a different dimension?
Mm-hmm. Sure, absolutely. I mean, that is the whole idea, that they are simply not from. I mean, they are from our world, but the world that they're from is like a layer under. I know that it starts sounding far-fetched, but it's like almost if you take an onion and you start peeling it. Okay, what happens if reality has a lot of layers to it, and some of these layers are very, very thin, so thin in fact that things can cross back and forth, and that is kind of really the reasoning that I'm going with here, that whenever these creatures come into our world, they can stay long enough to become physical in this world, but this is not their world in the end. They return to another dimension. I think that, again, talking about this here at 2:19 a.m. and at my time in my dining room in Western Pennsylvania sounds kind of hokey, and it sounds like something off of a very bad sci-fi movie. But I think when we get down to it, we have to bring up these kind of ideas, or things don't make sense. So we have to talk about, the possibility of at least interdimensionality.
Very true. Very true. The crypto guru, Ronald Murphy, is here tonight on Spaced Out Radio, and we continue on with the questions for you. And Tammy is wondering, where do you think CERN fits into all of this?
Oh, man. I'll tell you what. Okay. I will tell you a story that happened several years ago. There was a gentleman that decided that he was going to make his own Tesla coil. If you are of the mind to do such a thing, you're able to do it. So in his attic, he made a Tesla coil that he fired up. Okay. Fired the thing up, turned it down or turned it off, went downstairs, and then he could hear something up in that room moving around, walking back and forth, as if he opened a door through that type of interaction. So we have no idea what's going on out there, right? We have no idea what the military is going on out there. We don't know what the private sector is going on out there. But if you are able to manipulate the world in such a way through electricity, through sound, through nuclear fission, whatever, we have to consider the fact that this can open up doors or open up portals, or at least allow things to access the energy which is being put off. And if that is indeed the case, then we have no idea what's going. We don't understand what's coming through or what's staying behind or whatever. But I think that a lot of this stuff has to be looked at in great detail. I'm fascinated by this stuff as well.
Me too as well. All right, let's go to Kaiju. What's the scariest Bigfoot or Dogman encounter you have heard of?
Wow. The thing about anything, whenever you have to deal with a Dogman, it never comes out as you laugh at the end. It's always a very scary thing. I have interviewed forest rangers who have said they were in a place doing inspections of particular areas, and they had seen something they would describe as a werewolf creature watching them as they were there, and knowing that they had to get out. Now, that has happened to me probably about 3 times, where I was able to get somebody, not on record, of course, but get somebody that was actually involved in the Department of Nature and Conservation to at least give me a statement, without using their name. But 3 times I've heard a very similar story by 3 different people, that they would go out into an area to inspect an area for whatever reason, and there would be a creature there that was watching them, and their the feeling was they had to get out of there as quickly as humanly possible. That's scary to me. That's scary to me, that these things are out there. They know that we go into these areas, and they can somehow interact with us from a psychic level or whatever. But also, it gets really scary whenever I hear a lot of people talk about going camping, and these things start coming around their campsites. Probably about a dozen reports I've had on that, whenever people are laying in their tent and they have a small fire going outside, and all of a sudden an upright canid shadow is cast across the tent. Heard this number of times, Dave, and that stuff really scares the heck out of me.
What do you think the purpose of these dogmen are?
Well, we talked about this before, and I'm agreeing with you. I don't think that we're talking about werewolves. I don't think we're talking about the idea of a transformation of a human being into an animal. I don't think that is happening. But I think that we're also dealing with a different cryptid out there. I don't think that this is a misidentification of what we would call Bigfoot. This seems to be something totally different and unique and in and of itself. I don't know what's going on there, Dave. I don't know. But I know whatever this cryptid is, or whatever it isn't. It is out there to project into this world fear and nothing else.
Yeah, we haven't had any big time reports of this dogman attacking people.
No,
we've heard reports it may have attacked cars and ripped bumpers off. Or banged at windows or doors. We've heard that, but I've never heard of somebody being attacked by one of these creatures. If they come in close encounters, we always hear of them, getting this telepathic message saying, you know what, it's best if you leave, or something along those lines.
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing that I can say in rebuttal to that is a lot of people go missing and are never heard from again. And is it possible that these are the people that had the actual physical interaction with the dogman?
I don't know.
No. See, that's the thing, is like, we've heard a lot of stories about people backing away because they've had the feeling that they shouldn't be there, or there was some sort of psychic communication. But what about the people that push on and disregard that kind of thing? Do they ultimately have a run-in with a dogman that leads to their disappearance and they're never heard from again? I mean, these are some of the conclusions that we can come up with. Again, theory, conjecture, but still possibility. There's a lot of stories about people that go out hunting with another group of people, and they post them at one spot, and at the end of the day, everybody gathers together, and that person is not there and never seen again. I mean, that happens. Frequently is not the right word to use, but it's not a one-off type of thing. It happens enough times that there's enough people out there making a note that this is very curious indeed.
Oh, very true.
Yeah.
Very, very true, Guru. As we have about 2.5 minutes left with you tonight, let's quickly get to Les's question here. Have you seen the recent documentary on the Patterson-Gimlin film with video enhancements?
I did. They've done remarkable things with the Patterson-Gimlin film. They've been able to stabilize it. They've been able to walk it through. The creature seems to be a lot larger than what we originally thought. I do want to point out, though, to Lester and to everybody else listening, whenever Patterson and Gimlin came upon this creature was only about 90 feet away from them, between 60 and 90 feet. So to put that in perspective, it's about from home plate to the pitcher's mound, or at its farthest home plate to first base. So that was very, very close. They were right up on top of it. So the images that you see looks like it's like 100 yards away, but it's really not. It was just the limitations of the camera at the time. But they are making a great deal of advancements. However, because this Patterson-Gimlin film is older than I am, there are a lot of artifacts and a lot of noise, so to speak, that's inherent in the tape. And it's going to take a lot to really clean that up, if it can ever be completely cleaned up.
Well, Guru, 1 minute left, my friend. And I want to say a big thank you for your love and support of this show throughout 2021, my friend. We've been doing this since 2015, 6 years. And I'll tell you, man, I absolutely love it every time you come on the show.
This is the highlight of my month whenever I come on here. I look forward to talking to you. I look forward to all the questions. The reason why this show moves so quickly is because it's constantly changing. The fast pace of all the questions coming at you and everything. This makes the person that's being interviewed, it makes their job very enjoyable because we get to act out with all these other people. So, Dave, again, I love being on your show. I love you as a human being. I love your listeners, and I cannot wait to do this all over again.
Can't wait. Let everybody know where they can find your books.
So you can contact Amazon. I will give you you can contact me on Facebook as well too. Ronald L. Murphy Jr. And Walmart, Amazon, through social media, whatever the case may be. If someone wants to get in touch with me or get a book from me, find a way to do it. I will help you along the process.
That's why we love you, Guru.
Yes.
The crypto guru, Ronald Murphy. When we return, the fedora-wearing John Hudson gives us the unbiased UFO report. We got Shirky Poo's news as well. Lots of coming up here on Spaced Out Radio right after this.
All right, guys.
Hello,
Hey,
this
thank
is
you.
your guitar
All right,
man,
Guru.
Ron Bumble.
You get going. You go own the night in your bed so you can fall asleep.
I will, guys. Hey, thanks a lot, Dave, for having me on. Get in touch with me. We'll do this again very soon.
Guru time, everybody.
Yep, we'll see you guys.
Guru
Hey,
time.
and thanks for being so kind as well, guys. Thank you very much.
Much love, my friend. Much love. Take care. That's Guru, everybody. The Guru is here. All right. Let's see where we are here. I'm just getting the news ready. Shirky Poo's got us set up beautifully tonight. All right, let's see where Fedora is. He'll be here any second. Well, that's not nice, Jeremy Jones. The Guru's a good guy. That's good stuff. Good stuff. Oh. I've tripped back a little bit. I got to tighten my belt up a little bit. But I'm still down a size, which is good. Come on, Fedora. It's time. It's time, Fedora, for your appearance on the mighty SOR. There he is.
How's it going,
The
Dave?
Fedora
Dave?
wearing John Hudson. And people, he doesn't even dye that chin hair.
Yep. Oh, and you know what? I just realized I haven't sent you this yet, so give me a quick second here.
Pineapple ice, AA Ron. Pineapple ice. Thank you, the Michael Leger. The Michael Leger. Excalibur. Good to see you.
God, it's so cold here. I was actually worried my laptop wasn't going to work.
Oh my God, really?
Dave,
It's like 64 degrees there.
What? No. What? No, Dave. It's right now. It's right now. It's right now. It's 40.
Oh, that's t-shirt weather.
Oh my Lord.
Chad Smith says, I'm Dave Scott. No, you're not, Chad. You're not. I'm Dave Scott. Are you? I was going to ask you that, Super Duke. Are you putting a team together for our big Bigfoot show? I know there's you. There's Nate Foot. Oh, Fedora John is going to deliver the good stuff tonight. You know that. Jonathan Davies says, I'm John.
What's up, Jonathan Davies? Jonathan Davies is a good friend of mine.
Thank you, Surf Jer, G West, Jeremy, Melissa, and Grant for the awesome super chats. Thank you to all our new subscribers and all the veterans who have tuned on in. Here we go with the final half hour, everyone. We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate it. Want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and now on TikTok, Spaced Out Radio. The guy complaining about the 40-degree weather in California that he actually may freeze. He's got 3 jackets on. He's got 4 pairs of pants. Yep, long johns, thick woolly socks. We got the fedora wearing John Hudson. Yes, he brings us the UFO report coming on in. He's having a little cookies and milk, preparing for Santa Claus, making sure everything is tested on out before the big guy rides in a couple of weeks here. Fedora John, welcome back.
Hey, man, more people implemented QA into their lives, the whole world would run a lot smoother. How you doing, Dave?
I had my first glass of milk today in months.
Oh, you quit milk too? Why?
I can't stand milk. Never.
Okay. Well, but then it's not. No, yeah. Okay, then you're fine. You're fine.
Today I was actually craving a glass of cold milk, so I had one.
Yeah. How was it?
Actually, it was pretty good.
Well, you know what, Dave? Hats off to you for actually listening to your body, and actually listening to your body against your normal judgment, right? Normally, you don't like milk, right? And so you trusted your body and you went for it, and your body rewarded you by actually tricking you into enjoying it. So it was a win-win for everybody.
Well, that is a win-win. And by the way, John, 6 out of the next 8 days, I get snow.
6 out of the next 8. At your house where you live?
That's that white stuff that accumulates.
Why do people build homes where snow goes? Like, I don't get it, man. I really don't. Like, I get visiting snow. I love to visit snow. I go to Tahoe. I snowboard. I proposed to my wife on Heavenly. I love snowboarding. I love the snow. I do not want it anywhere near my house.
Man, I'm surprised. I'm surprised you're still alive. I really am. By the way, thank you, Race Fan, for the weather update outside SOR headquarters. 31 degrees Fahrenheit. That's -1 Celsius. And with the wind chill factor down to -19 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about -10 Celsius. So, yeah, it's not too bad. That's hoodie weather. I'm having to wear hoodie and socks now, John.
Well, that's my problem. Is I don't like wearing jackets. I prefer to be in my Vans, jeans, a t-shirt, maybe like a sports coat at most. Like that's like the length of what I ever want to wear. And so if any weather violates that clothing ritual, then I get upset.
Speaking of Vans, I haven't had a pair of Vans since I was a teenager. I never knew this until I was watching TikTok. Vans, if you throw them, will always land right side up.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
know.
I have to admit, I didn't actually know that for sure, but it was funny because I was just looking at something else with my bands the other day, and I was thinking about the same thing. I was thinking about how bottom heavy they are, and like how there's so much rubber in the bottom, and there's nothing on the top, and so they'll always land the soul down. Yeah. Hopefully, when you're in them too. So
I never ever knew that. All right, let's get to it. Stanford professor Dr. Gary Nolan, who's been working with Jacques Vallée quite a bit over the last number of years on UFOs, he's been checking into these crash retrievals. John, what do you got for us?
Well, this is first off, I want to hats off to Vice and this individual, and if I'm mispronouncing Thoby, your name, I apologize, but Thoby Champion. This is a really, really good article that I recommend everyone read. And what it does, including showing a little video, is it sits down and has this really nice, lengthy conversation with Dr. Gary Nolan of Stanford about a whole bunch of his research. And they go into the crash retrieval material type stuff, but more importantly, what they talk about is looking at the biological impact of people that have had contact, as well as the biological impact or the biological signs that might exist for people that have contact. And this is actually a very, very detailed. I was really quite impressed with the length and detail of this article and the number of diagrams and so forth that you're given throughout this article, including, by the way, and this makes the whole article so worth it, a very cool picture of the Invisible College that I'm not sure I've ever seen before. That doesn't mean anything. There's probably a lot of pictures I haven't seen before, but I thought it was neat because I haven't seen it before. And essentially, but what it does is it goes down and it gives a lot more specifics than I would expect. For example, it specifically talks about this connective region that we all have between our hemispheres. And it talks about that if you assume that the average person has a density of, say, 1x, that most of the people in the study were found to have densities between 5x and 10x, and in some cases up to 15x more density of interconnect fibers than the average person. That's beyond statistically significant, right? I mean, 15x is that's insane, right? That is a magnificent data point if once it gets peer reviewed and so forth. And so once again, they're only looking at small numbers of patients, and like I said, I don't have time to go into all the specifics of the article, but it's really good. It's really well written, and it covers a lot of different material. And like I said, it gives some great diagrams and pictures and so forth, and I think paints a really good picture of what it really does is it shows in a beautifully tight, clean way what a beautiful value Dr. Gary Nolan is to this community.
Jonathan Davies quickly asking here, why do you think Gary Nolan did not mention astronauts and the effects on the brain?
My guess is because of the fact that he has absolutely zero data. That would be my guess. Is that he probably just doesn't feel comfortable speaking about something that he probably, most likely has absolutely no data on whatsoever. Because I don't know, like I don't even know if we've ever. I don't know if we have any. Actually, I should check. We come and think we might. I don't know if we have many autopsied brains of former astronauts. But it's a good question, and it's something we should, honestly, man, one of us should ask Gary on Twitter, because he usually responds to both of us, and he might answer the question. So we should find out.
All right. Do you think that with these crash retrievals of people who have had close encounter interaction with craft, do you think it's really affecting the body, the mind, the nervous system?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, look. I mean, fields are fields, right? I mean, like, people don't understand it. Like, people really don't get it. Like, fields are everywhere. Fields are permeating through your body all the time, all sorts of different fields, right? And most of them are completely harmless. Some of them are helpful, but there are fields that are very unhelpful. And for us to assume that a propulsion or an energy system or a shielding system, or you pick it, you pick any energy system on a craft from that was designed off world, and for you to assume that it's not going to generate fields that are harmful to our tissue is insane, right? That's just, I mean, statistically it's going to happen, right? And so, and I also think that it's very, very interesting, some of the research that's been done recently, looking at looking at blue shift and red shift, and looking to see what sort of energy might end up shifting into a harmful range because of things like time dilation and so forth. And could it be that some of these ships were not harmful when they left where they came from, but when they arrived here, they became harmful. And so that's something else that needs to be looked into.
Is radiation playing a major factor on this?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. When I say fields, that's what I mean. Radiation. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I mean, and it's hard to say whether is it specifically the spectrum that we consider to be radiation, and the classic sense of radiation. That I don't know. I mean, it definitely looks like there are definite signs that there are ranges that are being peaked in that range. But what I'm saying is that there could also be many other fields that we don't have any way of measuring that are doing just as much, if not more, harm, and we just don't know because we don't know what to look for, right? And so, to me, basically, unless the occupant of a vehicle has looked at our physiology and certified, like in writing, that like his vehicle won't harm us in any way, shape, or form, we have to expect that some of them are going to.
All right, let's move on to the next topic for the night. Update on what's going on in Washington with the Gillibrand Amendment.
Yeah, so this is just fun. I really hope that everyone else is enjoying this as much as I am, because especially right now, if you look around today, there were so many people writing on this. Lido on YouTube did a great 45-minute presentation on it. A bunch of other people did presentations on it. A bunch of people are talking about it. So you can pick your flavor, you can pick your favorite voice to listen to the analysis on it. There are some concerns that have been raised about some of the possible language changes. Is it going to is it really going to be in the Secretary of Defense? Could it end up getting moved down to the back down to the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense? I guess that's a possibility. The science advisors did look like it possibly got removed. I did hear today that it doesn't look like that the Senate is likely to sign it before Christmas. So we might not hear anything for a little while. But however, myself, several other people are all have all had reasonable data points brought to us that show that, essentially, assuming that the Senate signs it as they're expected to, that there's absolutely no reason to believe that the president won't sign it. And so at this point, something has to go terribly wrong for this not to go through.
And I hope it does go through. I think it is necessary. I have concerns, which I said in the previous Dave 101 that we did, in regards to how much access will the public have. Now, Science Bob tends to believe that we're going to get it all. I don't believe that for a second. I think that is extremely wishful thinking.
Well, I mean, in the end, we will. And eventually we will get it all. The challenge is going to be the metered way in which it's given out to us. 50 years from now, people will know an insane amount about what's going on right now, a lot more than we do now. But the thing is that there's so many good things in this. I mean, the very fact that there is specific language in this amendment that calls for funding to be allocated for the reverse engineering of recovered materials. It's right there in writing. Like this, that to me, like I want to get that a freaking t-shirt. Like all of our lives, we've all been hoping, praying, wishing that there was some agency within the US government that was actually reverse engineering UFOs. And now maybe there was, maybe there wasn't. I don't care at the moment. What I care about is we're getting one, and it's official, and it's going to be funded, and it's going to be real, and people are going to be able to apply for jobs there, and they're going to produce stuff. Like, how amazing is that? It's like X-Files come to life.
Do you believe, though, that we're going to get everything that they say?
Well, the thing is yes, I do, because of the fact that in the United States, what a lot of people fail to recognize is that the purpose of the United States government is to facilitate interstate commerce, right? That's really what it's there for. And the thing is that a lot of these technologies, it can be introduced to the US market exclusively. Okay. And that gives the US market insane advantage over other countries. And so it does get released. This stuff gets released all the time. It gets released very slowly. It doesn't get released as fast as we wish it would, and it gets released very carefully. And yeah, certainly there are some things that are on the dangerous side that don't ever get released. But I mean, think about it. I mean, look, there is significant evidence, okay? It's not guaranteed, but there is significant evidence that titanium came as a result of research derived from recovered material. Think about what titanium has done for this planet. I mean, my wedding band's titanium. I love it. The thing is light as a feather, right? I mean, titanium is a huge thing for humanity, and it's very likely that was derived, at least at some level, from recovered material. That's amazing to me, and I think there's a lot more stuff like that we're just not aware of.
All right, Fedora John, I know you'll be around for the after show. We're going to get to the news with Shirky Poo right now. Let's get to Shirky Poo's news here. A recent over-the-air update pushed out by Tesla delivered an unexpected new feature, the ability for a motorist to play video games even while driving, and that has raised concerns of federal safety regulators. It's just the latest time that Tesla appears to have pushed the boundaries when it comes to automotive safety, with the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration having repeatedly raised concerns about the automaker's initial autopilot system and more recent full self-driving feature. The latest controversy was triggered by a complaint filed by Vince Patton, a retired journalist living in Portland, Oregon, who watched a YouTube video showing how drivers could play video games on the large touchscreen that controls virtually all functions in Tesla vehicles. Taking his own Model 3 out, Patton found he could play games like Solitaire and Skyforce Reloaded as he looped around a parking lot near his home. Somebody's going to get killed, Patton said. I was just dumbfounded. Tesla is no stranger to the Federal Safety Agency as well as the National Transportation Safety Board. Both agencies have repeatedly initiated safety probes looking at issues such as battery fires, but that scrutiny is only ramped up in 2015 when Tesla first made the autopilot software available to drivers. It has been linked by regulators to several deaths and numerous crashes, most notably a 2016 Florida accident that killed a former Navy SEAL. Moving on here. How's this for Christmas time? A satisfied customer's social media post led to a Georgia waitress receiving more than $10,000 in tips from strangers. Rita Williams said on her Facebook post that she was dining out at IHOP in Morrow with her mother when she was impressed by her server, Jasmine Castillo. It was crazy crowded, and our waitress was stretched so thin, but she remained professional, so kind, patient, and just overall provided amazing customer service. She said the service inspired her to leave a generous tip on her $30 tab. I gave her 20, and she was like, "Are you serious?" And I handed her another 20, and she goes, "No, really?" Castillo, who is usually waiting on about 7 tables per night or per time, earns around $40 in tips, had a brief conversation with Williams and revealed that she had been struggling financially. Williams asked Castillo for her Cash App information, sent her $500 later that day. She posted about her experience on Facebook, and that's where things exploded. "I hear notifications. I don't usually get Cash Apps. I didn't know what was going on." Castillo said the tips from social media strangers exceeded $10,000 within the weeks. She said the tips couldn't have come at a more fortuitous time. "I've had a couple of bills overdue," Castillo said. "My mom is sick. She just got out of the hospital Thanksgiving Day. Her medicine and hospital bills. I can finally help with that. It's been hard." Way to go. Way to go. That's good humanity right there. Good humanity. A California woman captured a video of a real humbug situation. A bear, a bear cub, decided that it didn't like the Christmas decoration of a reindeer that was, one of them big inflatable kinds. So it basically attacked it and ripped it apart. Donna Hargett of Monrovia posted the video to social media showing the bear cub wrestling with the giant inflatable Christmas decoration in the neighbor's yard. "I looked up and there it was, jumping on the reindeer. I was laughing to myself out in the street." Hargett said the mother and cub are frequent visitors to the neighborhood. "We see these two around all the time. They're trouble." Hargett says bears often come down from the San Gabriel Mountains. She said the animals once broke into her home. Through the window one time, there were scratches on the wall, and one got up on the bed, and there were paw prints. Couldn't sleep in there after that. Thank you to Shirky Poo for the incredible news. And, of course, John Hudson for the unbiased UFO report. And, of course, we say a big thank you to the crypto guru, Ronald Murphy, for coming on in and making a great night of cryptid talk just before Christmas. Remember, you can find all of the guru's books by going on Amazon, going on Barnes & Noble, and now, apparently, you can get his books at Walmart. I'm not sure here in Canada yet. The U.S. for sure. That we do know. He's got an incredible On series that you're going to want to check out. It's all about cryptids and monsters. That's why the guru is one of the best, and we love him on this show. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight on YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Revolution Radio, Spreaker, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. Be right with you, John. All right. Good old Johnny Poo. There he is, everyone.
What's up, buddy?
Little Johnny Poo. Good show, man.
Yeah, that guy's fun.
second.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, no, it's just was
Partying with the wolves again, eh?
yeah, no, it was actually cleaning up after the tornado that my daughter left in my living room.
Oh, that's all right. That's allowed. That's allowed.
God, man, this article, you got to read this, Dave. It's really good. Yeah, they actually bring up Havana syndrome.
All right.
They actually talk about the fact that there's some commonality between Havana syndrome patients and patients that have been subjected to UFO encounters.
Really? That's kind of cool. You know what, John? It was minus 17 Celsius this morning.
It just dropped to 39, man. Like I could
Oh
turn
my
blue
God.
any minute. Like I could turn blue
my
any
God.
minute.
Oh my God. I don't know how you're doing it.
It's not good for
Hi,
you,
Sandra.
man.
Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Whoa. GFGFGFGE is asking, is that the Gary Nolan article?
Yes, yes. They even talk about the fact that they can tell, like, how, based on what part of the region of the brain was damaged, exactly how much energy it would take to reach that depth of the brain, so that you can basically figure out, okay, how deep into the brain does the injury go, and use that to then determine if it went 3 centimeters, they know that it would take an energy beam of this much energy to reach that far into your skull. And he specifically brings up a patient from Skinwalker Ranch, and he doesn't name the patient, but I think we all know who he's talking about. And I mean, that guy, was rushed to the hospital, and he I don't know if he was ever really in any danger, but at least from my perspective, hearing what he went through, it sounded to me like he was in medical danger. I don't know if they actually did anything to heal him or if he just healed on his own, but it sounded to me like if he hadn't been removed from that scene, he could have been in danger. And one of the things that Gary Nolan talks about in this article is that the case, that the Skinwalker Ranch case, appears to be not UAP related, but related to a state actor using an energy weapon.
Really? That's some serious stuff.
Seriously. And so then the big question becomes, why would any state actors be pointing energy weapons at Skinwalker Ranch?
In 2 seconds.
Yeah, I agree, Julie.
Mm-hmm. All right. Sorry, I'm just getting ready for the editing here, bud.
No worries, man.
Oh, they're a little high. Let's bring them down a little bit. Where are we here? There we go. There we go. Hi, John Hudson.
Hello, sir.
The fedora wearing John Hudson, everyone. Peter Steins, how are you? That's a solid manly name. Peter Steins.
Yeah,
I'm Peter Steins. Who the hell are you? I like it. That actually felt good. I'm Peter Steins. Who the hell are you? You need a t-shirt for that, Peter. By the way, I did put up coffee mugs. I know there were people asking about coffee mugs in our store. I have put some up there. And let's go like this. SOR1. What are you doing there, Fedora?
You say how or what?
How are you, or what are you doing? Let's find out. What are you doing?
I'm really just finding more and more in this article that's just blowing my mind. What's been talked about? I mean, like at one point, Nolan's talking about using a squid device, which is a super quantum interface device. It's kind of a hard device to explain, and talking about using it in a new design of a new microscope that will be able to look at the atomic structure of anything at a sub-angstrom resolution, and that nothing in the world can do that today. We can do it a little bit with crystals, but nothing in general. And he's currently in talks with the government about trying to build one. So this is Gary Nolan saying, "Oh yeah, no, I'm thinking about trying to implement using a squid device in a new type of microscope that's going to be able to look even deeper than the one I have right now." Like, how cool is that? Hey, buddy, Maui, come here.
Where's your puppy?
Come back here, buddy. Maui.
Doesn't like the UFO talk?
I guess not. It was weird. He came out here and turned around and left. It was weird. I think he may have gotten scared away by the fan. Who knows? I mean, by the heat,
Yeah, because it's like so cold there. You realize I have zero. You realize I have zero sympathy for you, right?
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's cool. As long as you know that.
But that's the whole reason why when I bought my house, it had single pane windows and no insulation, and it hadn't killed anybody. Anywhere else in the world, it would have killed the first people that lived there. But in California, and one of the other things Gary says is that of the objects he's looked at, he's seen about 10 to 12 that appear to have non-Earth origin isotopic ratios. Or I shouldn't say that. That's putting words into his mouth. The better way to phrase it is that he has oh no, sorry, I misspoke. Out of the 10 to 12 that he's looked at, 2 of them seem to not be playing by our rules. And he goes on to say that does not mean that they're levitating on my desk or anything. It just means that they have altered isotopic ratios. But that means 2 good samples with modified isotopic ratios, which is exactly what we've been looking for.
Thank you, Carbines, for the Norwegian kroner. We appreciate that. Thank you for donating to the super chat. God damn it. What am I doing here? Chad Smith, isn't it time that you tried to steal subscribers? Oh, I can't believe that man made me start. It was just supposed to be a hearty chortle. River Dogma says it's 9 degrees Celsius in Bullhead City, Arizona right now. That is t-shirt weather, 9 degrees Celsius. I'd wear shorts in that. Would Fedora John? Probably not. Fedora John would be in a very, very thick parka. Nice compliment from Nicola here for you, bud.
Yeah, no kidding. Very
It's
kind.
it's a long one too.
It is, but very, very kind.
Would you wear your fedora on national TV?
Depends on where they caught me. If I was already wearing it, yeah.
Yeah. GFGFG, when's this Vegas thing? Is this the first time? Can you do something for Canadian people in the future? Yes, this is for all people, including Canadians. Vegas is the first time. The reason why we're doing it down there, my friend, is because one, Dave hasn't been to Vegas in a long time, and it's time for Dave to go. Number two, it's a cheap, centralized place for everybody to get to. And number three, the U.S. makes up about 80% of my listeners. Canada only makes up 10 to 11. So it'd be more difficult to get it done in Canada. Holy cow, Sandra. You're supposed to get 100-kilometer-an-hour winds tonight. You better batten down the hatches there, lady. That's scary stuff. I've been on the island once when that happened. That ain't fun. $100-kilometer-an-hour winds. That's 62 miles an hour.
There's this street in Chicago where just the way the winds, just the way the angle goes, like the wind gets so strong that like it'll literally like hold you up. You can like lean over and it'll actually hold you up. And sometimes it's so heavy you can't even walk straight. And very, very bizarre experience.
That's all coming off the Great Lakes, right?
I guess so.
Yeah, I flew over Chicago a couple of times.
Now that's cold. Wow.
Alicia Carey Wyatt, she's coming to Vegas. Coming up from Texas. Grant Rogers going to make the trek all the way from Quesnel, British Columbia, where they still use horse and buggy to get around. Quesnel, British Columbia, home to Mandy the Haunted Doll. I would go see Adele at her new Vegas gig. I like Adele. I would be rolling in the deep with her.
That woman, wow, man. She can sing.
I can't stand her song Rumor Has It, though. That one drives me nuts.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Not her best song, but you know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
Good old fedora wearing John Hudson. Are you excited about the debut tomorrow with Big Willie and Jim and Jane?
Oh yeah, I know. It should be exciting. It should be fun.
Well, you're a fun kind of guy.
Yeah, no, it should be a kick.
When you pull up the dictionary and look up the word "fun," there's a picture right there of the fedora wearing John Hudson.
Yeah. Should be a kick.
Should be groovy.
Certainly an unending level of things to talk about, my lord. Did you see the Matrix preview?
No, I haven't yet. Is it good? Does it look good?
Yeah, it looks pretty good. It looks pretty good.
Keanu Reeves, good Canadian kid.
He's actually a very impressive human. He really is.
Yes. Look at that. Chad can't even get your name right. Calls you Job Hudson.
Job.
Yeah, you're Job Hudson. Job. Fapster's going to Vegas April 22nd to 24th. The fedora wearing John Hudson will be there.
Fingers crossed. It's a short flight for me, though. It's like an hour.
That's good.
Good old Jobby Hudson and Dibby Scott.
1 second here. Where are you, Big Willie?
I don't think it's an hour. I think it's like 45 minutes. It's a short flight.
Uh-huh. Any questions from our audience? Uh,
600 round trip. Where are you flying from, Sherry?
Luke 99, how are you? Yeah, where are you flying from, Sherry?
No, I heard flights are not cheap at the moment. Did you get a Christmas tree yet, Dave?
Yep.
Do you go cut one down?
Actually, we bought a fake tree this year. Didn't feel like cutting down a Christmas tree.
Then they'll go up and cut it down a couple of times, but normally I just go to a local lot, and there's some really nice ones around where I live. They got good things for the kids to do and nicely run and good clean trees, and
That's good.
and it's all farmed trees, so it's like it's all like trees that were had been grown specifically 5 years, just for Christmas tree harvest. Not quite organic vegan trees, but pretty close.
I really enjoy going out in the forest, and I just the Christmas tree. We only got like one Christmas tree farm. Hey, David Lopez, how are you, man? I'm doing good, man. And I think they're trying to sell, so they really haven't over the last couple of years been taking care of and pruning down their trees to look like Christmas trees.
Hmm. It's on Vice. I'll post a link to it in a little bit. Right here, I can post a link into here real quick. Give me a second.
We haven't figured out that portion yet, Sam. Haven't figured that out. Manuel, how you doing? We're gonna have more details coming up very soon on that. Let's see here. What did Manuel say? Hey, Dave, what are you going to talk about the Elizabeth Lake monster here in the Antelope Valley? It is a legend and possibly true story. Send all ideas or guest ideas or recommendations to bookings@spacedoutradio.com or info@spacedoutradio.com or Bree@spacedoutradio.com. Bree is BRE. Use one of those, and then we will chase down some guests for you. All right, there we go with that. I got to be up early for hockey.
What time used to be up?
I'm going to be up at like 6:45. Yeah, my boy has hockey at 8 o'clock, which is cool. I like watching him play. Yes, fun.
That's so damn early. Why not play it like something reasonable, like 2 o'clock in the afternoon?
And your day is ruined.
What do you mean your day is ruined? You're playing hockey.
I like going to the rink. The young guys always get the early ice times.
I don't see why going to the. Seems like a nice thing to do at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. 8 o'clock in the morning, damn well should be sleeping. Man, it is cold.
You're funny.
You got the space heater. It's not working now. Gotta move it closer. Not a very good one, though. It's still heat, though. Yeah, you grow up in California, you tend to become a bit of a tenderfoot.
Any luck with Guess, Emily, Trim, Ariel School? No, we haven't had any luck with them. Oh, Sherry's in Niagara Falls, Buffalo area. Hi, Rono. Job Hudson, right there. Job.
And maybe it's a good sign. Maybe I'll finally get a job.
Yeah, it's about time you get a job.
Yeah.
You're due, man.
Yeah.
Let's send John some positive Zen and chi. Phoenix Lights were aliens, man. Phoenix Lights were completely aliens.
Red beet juice? That sounds so gross. That sounds so gross. Red beet juice. Beets are the natural. Oh my goodness.
I'm not a red beet juice fan.
I'm not sure anybody is, man. I don't think you're gonna have anyone contesting you on that one. No, it's great stuff. What are you talking about? I love that stuff.
Oh, not me, man.
Yeah.
Not me. Not me, man. Don't do the red beet juice thing. I don't.
What about eggnog? You an eggnog guy?
Oh God, no. No, that shit's terrible.
Really?
Oh God. It's like drinking paint. It's horrible.
Wow. Man, it really shows how few chemicals you guys got in your paint up there. If you think that's what paint tastes like. I don't know how much paint you've been licking, but
Fucking gross. Pardon my language, but geez. That shit is terrible.
Oh man, no, I really like it.
Yeah, I could see you liking it.
It's horribly fattening. My God,
I could totally see you liking it.
I like it by itself. I like it with rum.
Terrible stuff. Terrible stuff. All right, let's go like this. There. I would sooner drink cans of pickle juice than I would eggnog.
Oh my.
That stuff's terrible. Yes, thank you, Fab. It's more like drinking vomit.
A bunch of eggs, drank too much, and passed out. Oh man. Oh.
Well, there's somebody testing out our new. What do you think our new logo there, Super John and Wilbur?
Did it put me right in?
I totally put you right in.
Oh, you did? Okay, I thought I did it on accident. I was like, oh my God, I didn't even do anything.
Hi, Wilhelm.
What's shaking, guys?
Oh, not much. Your beard's looking beautiful.
Oh, well, I appreciate it. Hang on a second, I gotta adjust some audio here. You guys sound a little quiet. What is that about?
Well, let me check yours. Yours is good.
Let me see, because I know switching over here might have changed up. I wonder if I changed.
You got to get a set of headphones that are going to fit that Viking helmet. Could you put that on for us?
Yeah, heck yeah. Hang on.
Seriously, like
can almost fit.
Oh man, seriously, dude, headphones into that Viking helmet is a really, really good idea. It's a very good idea.
I think headphones will fit now, man.
You know what I have in my head now is that whole Bugs Bunny thing, the who killed the rabbit, like the whole the Viking, you know what I'm talking about, like the whole where he they do the
there we go.
The Viking opera with Bugs Bunny. One of the best cartoons ever.
All right, let's see if this fixed the audio a little bit. Can you gentlemen hear me okay?
You sound beautiful.
And I can hear you guys now.
It'd be better if you sounded worse, buddy. Like you don't need to sound better. I
got to agree with it. I got to agree.
The last thing we need is you sounding better. Okay.
Thin Lizzy is not wrong. Oh, look at this! I can just do stuff from here. My goodness, I'm not going to do that. But yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But yeah, gentlemen,
are you excited?
I am. I'm starting to feel myself again, and which is good. I still feel a little foggy, but I'm excited. It's gonna be a good time. I typed up like that little intro thing there. I sent that over to you, Dave. I'll let you, the old eagle eye, take a look at that one and see what you think of it.
I'm gonna go over it tomorrow.
Yeah, no worries. Let's see. I'm a brown Viking. Yeah, Thin Lizzy. Yeah, you got a lot of Norwegian in you, right? I think that's what she said. She's from her side of the family. So, Thin Lizzy, do you know what pasties are? And how many people in they're in Canada? Do you guys have pasties? I would assume you guys had minors and stuff.
Pasties?
I know what pasties are.
That's where I was going with this. I was like, where are we going with this, Willie?
Okay, so what are pasties to you guys?
The nipple covers.
They
are.
Yeah, that's what they are.
Okay, so we're on different topics here. So pasties.
That's what we figured. That's why. That's the whole reason why I asked for clarification, my friend. I was right there where we were going.
Pasties were something that came over from like the Norwegians and stuff in the Upper Peninsula in Michigan. There was a lot of the coal, and even in Pennsylvania too. Like anybody who was like coal miners or did anything that way, it was a Danish dish. There you go. That basically had this beautiful crust. And you would put all the stuff like meat and potatoes and carrots and whatever you wanted to put into it, and you would hold the crust because their hands were covered in all the soot and stuff from whatever they were working with, and they would eat that, and then they would throw away the crust to the rats that hung out with them in the mines. But it's a really good dish that's like got a lot of tradition here in Michigan and some other places in the States.
Huh?
Yeah. See, Chad Smith knows what's up. Beef and potatoes filled pocket of crust. And there's a big debate. Some people, are you a ketchup person? Or are you nothing? Or do you prefer gravy? There's a big debate on this one. People get
what's
fired
in
up.
it again? It's potatoes and what?
The version that I grew up with had potatoes, carrots, rutabaga, ground beef, onion, and that was about it. And then they would do like ketchup with it at the end.
You know, you could do ketchup. You could do. There's a couple barbecue sauces that you could do be real good. Yeah, you got a lot of actually sauce options for that.
Oh, thank you for that $5 donation right there. That's awesome. Thank you.
So it kind of sounds like a euro.
Carlito with the super chat. Wish I had a cool name like Carlito. I got Dave.
That's a cool name.
Yeah, you know,
Dave is cool. When you're growing up listening to Cheech and Chong albums, man, Dave's like the coolest name ever.
Yeah, but it doesn't have some, like Tony. Everybody, Tony's a tough guy's name. Carlito. It's got some. If it rolls nice off the tongue, even like Duke. How can you not be a badass with a name like Duke? And then there's Dave.
Well,
where's Dave? Dave's not here, man.
Exactly, man.
To be fair, though, you can't say, like, you get to say, do old Davey the favor. If you're Duke, you can't, do old Dookie the favor sounds kind of weird, right? I don't know. See, Dave and Duke, both starting with D, but different outcomes. John knows what's up.
I spit my soda all over the place.
Do old Dookie the favor.
Old Dookie the favor.
Oh,
Hit that subscribe button.
Well, you got young kids. You ever watch Gummy Bears? TV show?
Yeah.
The Gummy Bears? Little Dookie? The little...
You want to know something really cool that I found out this week?
Count Dookie? Whatever. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm not going to give out his name, but one of our listeners who comes into our chat room on a nightly basis, or not a nightly basis, but a couple times a week, is one of the directors and cartoonists who created the Paw Patrol.
Wait,
Really?
I'm sorry. Say that again. Wait, what's that? What?
One of the people who comes into our chat room once, twice a week is one of the directors and creators of the Paw Patrol.
Very nice. My daughter loves Paw Patrol, my youngest. The other two didn't get into it as much, but my youngest is very much so into Paw Patrol.
My
the Paw Patrol dance.
Yeah, that is my boy's kindergarten picture where he had to go to kindergarten every day with Chase.
Oh my God! Like I've watched like so many of those shows. Like I like it. I think it's actually pretty well done.
Yeah, but they put so much stress on those kids. Doesn't it seem kind of sus, guys? I mean, literally, We've got how old is Chase?
Oh, those kids are all destined for
He's just
therapy
a
as adults.
dog.
Like, let's be
They're
honest
puppies.
here, right? Like,
Well, that's fair. I mean, even that's what I'm saying. Even in dog years, how old is he? And then who Ryder? You know, Ryder's like what, 10 or 11 years old, and the people of the city
No,
there.
he's
the
got
mayor.
to be 16 because he's driving.
Well, I don't know that he is though.
he's driving go karts, man. Those aren't cars. Those are like
No,
go karts.
he drives the motor home.
That's a big rig. That's what I'm saying. It's a lot of stress on these kids. I mean, if anything goes wrong in that town, and they're like, call the
I
Paw
always assumed
Patrol.
Ryder was like 8, so I have no idea.
That's what I thought.
No, Ryder's like 16.
Running around with puppies? I don't know. Really? Okay. All right.
Carol, that is me.
And it's obvious that his parents are absolute billionaires.
Well, I mean, they just don't even care about him.
I know.
Honestly.
I mean, not only that, but I mean, they build him towers and get him all of these electronic toys.
He has no budget limitations at all.
No.
It's like his dad's Uncle Sam.
I don't know to be proud of my daughter or to be upset at myself, feel like I'm hurting her in some way, that like I've damaged her worldview, but she was watching the Paw Patrol movie, right? Which is, hey, as a film, it's a great movie, okay?
I haven't seen it yet, but yeah.
And there's a scene near the end of the movie where Ryder is driving, I'm sorry, Chase is driving this vehicle and it transforms into a motorcycle and there's like stuff falling down on him, and then he just goes from driving on the road to vertical and he's driving up a building, like suction cups to it. And she, out of the blue while we're watching it, she's not quite 4 yet. She just looks at me, she goes, I don't think a motorcycle could suction to a building and drive. And I was like, keep that energy. You keep keep that energy.
She probably doesn't believe in Santa Claus either.
Oh, Jesus, you guys and your Santa Claus. Oh, my God. I couldn't tonight. I was,
What's wrong with Santa Claus?
Well, listen, hey, the elf just made their appearance last night. Someone was feeling a little under the weather and forgot to get in contact, but the elf did make its appearance last night. Or this morning, I should say. So they've got that going. They've got that going for them.
You elf on a shelf them?
I think that whole elf on the shelf thing is so damn creepy. I really do.
See, I kind of think it's creepy too, but my wife's really into like the Christmas spirit. But again, it's
so
another moment
creepy.
where my son is like, he brought that up. He was like, don't you think it's weird that like she moves every morning and she watches us? I was like,
So you know what I told my daughter. So we have a Nest camera in her room, and we have a Nest camera in the living room, and so from a very young age, she'd say like she didn't do something. I'd be like, really? Should we go to the video? And I'd have evidence of this, right? And so what I finally told her, that I share the feed with Santa. So that's how she thinks Santa watches her. She thinks Santa has access to the Nest camera in her room and in the living room.
oh, Filthy's got a new one, Crypto. I don't know how I feel about that one. I don't know how I feel about saying that out loud. I read it and now I went to say it out loud and I feel dirty. I don't know why. I love it, but I just feel a little dirty saying it out loud. Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't raised, unfortunately, Dave. I got to be honest with you. My parents didn't raise me with that idea of the big man in red.
Really?
Oh, no. That was a pagan holiday. And
Which religion were you?
Non-denominational.
Oh, yeah.
Like strictly non-denominational.
Yeah, they didn't put no names on no books.
Oh, okay.
But it was kind of weird how seeing everybody else that believed, and it was were you JW? What is JW? I should feel like I should.
Jehovah's Witness.
Oh, no. Even we locked the doors on those guys. I'm just kidding. My dad would let them in and like hang out and have coffee and stuff. I'm just kidding. He totally
Invite
did.
him in and be like,
he did.
Come on, let's talk.
I think they ran away from
group
there.
lasted 2 hours. Let's see how you do.
Oh man. We every once in a while will get some here where we live now, and I've never been rude at all or anything like that.
Oh no,
but
no.
I don't know. I just, to each their own. I'll leave it at that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
As long as you're not promoting violence of others and things of that nature. That's where you kind of put a line up. But if you're just living your best life and that doesn't cause damage and harm to others, then more power to you.
Yep. I think you can argue that belief systems in general are bad, but I think it's pretty slippery slope to argue that any one belief system is any worse or better than any other, you know?
Yeah. Then Lizzie says, my family are Jehovah's Witness and I am the black sheep. Yeah, I kind of feel, I mean, there's like, see, we were raised when it came to the idea of like angels and demons and stuff, or like say any phenomenon that was unexplainable. That's what it was. It was everything. You could believe in ghosts and witches and all that, yeah, because that was in the Bible. But when it came to anything extraterrestrial, those were just misunderstood angels, misidentified angels and demons. And I suppose, to be fair, and this is more of a Lynn thing, she would have a lot more information on this. I suppose one could almost argue that could be the case sometimes, maybe. Maybe. Who knows? It's hard to say.
Oh, no,
I think it's...
No, I think it is a very reasonable, while be it terribly unpopular, but very, very reasonable presumption to make that some of the events of history that were the core beginnings of certain religions were not done by mythical beings. They were done by off-world beings that appeared mystical in their abilities because they were off-world beings, and that, you know, religions then began from those events. And I think, you know, is that to say that all religions began that way? I can't say that. I have no idea. But it's to say that at least one did. Yeah, probably pretty safe to bet maybe at least one did. You know, yeah, it's you know, I mean, think about it. Think from this point of view, right? Here, I'll go out on a limb and really upset people. So you know, you look at the very concept of virgin birth, right? And you know, the very concept of virgin birth is challenging. Like I was raised Catholic, and even even when I was a card carrying Catholic, I struggled with the concept of virgin birth, right? And the thing is that, you know, when you're growing up, you're looking like, is there any other examples of virgin birth? You know, it's like, okay, yeah, there are some animals that can populate, right? But, you know, there's no human occurrences of this that we know of, right? So this is a pretty unique thing, except one messed up exception, and that is abductions. With abductions, you actually have cases of immaculate conception. You have women being taken that are not having intercourse with anybody, who are turning up pregnant without any reason to be pregnant whatsoever. And they are being medically shown to be pregnant. And they are medically being shown, right? And but see, this is the thing, right? Is it that's the logical guess before as well. But here's the thing: is that we actually do have, for the first time, like, I guess my point is that if you look for an analogy, an analog of any sort for virgin birth, the only place you're going to find it is in abductions, and that's weird, right? The fact that the only other place you find an example of immaculate conception is in abductions is at the root of one of the core religions. That's interesting to me, right? That's a tell, you know. That's definitely a tell of some sort. You know, it's also very possible that it's just very, very poorly recorded history, in that, you know, essentially, you know, there were other siblings, which makes the whole virgin birth thing very challenging. But you know, my point is that there are certainly a lot of good reasons to believe that that there's blending there. There's actually even a funny part in Robert Monroe's books, where he is communicating with an advanced being, and they one of them appears to him, and he makes the comment about the fact that it has a very kind of angelic look to it, you know. And
you're angelic too. Look at your
what?
Look at your angelic look.
And yeah, with the fedora, and basically, you know, the being basically said, you know, yeah, you know, we've had that misunderstanding before, and Monroe, like, you know, looks at the guy and he's like, wait, are you trying to tell me that you guys have been misidentified as like angels and stuff? And the being got very embarrassed and was like, yeah, we're not happy about how that went down, sort of thing. Right? was like really like cagey about it. It was a really weird part of the book. It was very interesting.
Yeah, I'm trying to recall, and I'm drawing a blank. I apologize, John. You'd have to. I mean, I'm sure you'd know his name. I can't remember the gentleman's name, but for years he had the painting, right, of the one that would come down in the woods. They had a very, very personal contact relationship.
You mean Chris Bledsoe?
No. This one was strictly of a consensual sexual manner, and he actually drew the art of her, and they have, according to him, met many times over the years, and strictly for the purpose of, one could say, from the standpoint of just a good time. It's really frustrating to me that I cannot remember his name right now, but his experience began when he was very young. I want to say like 17, and
he was some
he's in his
booty
70s
call?
now?
Is that what?
Essentially, yeah. And this isn't the one in South America either, because that one was pretty funny, where she basically was like, hey, this is what's going to happen, and he was kind of upset that everything had ended, and his wife was upset that things had happened. This one's a different one. I'll have to. Ben and Joe have covered this one before.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. No. That one's lost on me, man. I'm not familiar with that one.
I have to find this. And now, if I bring it up, I gotta find it for you guys. Dave, do you know which one I'm talking about?
No, I'm intrigued now.
Oh man, dang it, guys! Here I was thinking, I'm like, these guys are gonna have this in 2 seconds. Oh man.
This is your fault.
Well, I tell you what. You guys discuss secret Tinder while I do my best to go find this case. Hang on, give me 2 seconds.
Yeah, I must admit, I really think that the entire reproductive aspect of abductions is going to be a huge problem when it comes to
on the huge
like,
over there,
like gigantic, horrible problem when it comes to disclosure. Like, I can't even.
I hear you.
Think about it.
I hear you, man. Thurston Howell the Third. How are you? How's Lovey doing? I think Thurston Howell the Third was one of my first nicknames for audience members on YouTube.
His name is David Huggins.
Of course, it's David.
Well, Dave, you can't help that you guys got that much game. I will see if I can copy the link here, and I will send it over to you. But yeah, he has, I want to say he is now, I don't see it saying his age, but he says, when I was 17 years old, I lost my virginity to a female extraterrestrial. The 74-year-old says in a documentary about him called Love and Saucers. That's what the name of the documentary was. It's all true.
I remember hearing about that movie.
That's all I can say about it.
Love and Saucers.
Love and Saucers, and his very erotic painting that he has here in the woods of him and his, I can't remember her name. Let me see if he had what her name was. I don't see it on here, but yeah, he claims
never got her name.
17 years old, and he claims to this day that they still have.
To this day?
Yeah, that they have had interactions for years and years and years.
Wow.
I'll have to send this over to you guys. And again, when I hear any of this stuff, I try to just take it at face value, because I suppose I'm not having their experience. I can certainly bring up questions, but who's to say? The lucky man, you know. I'm not there. I don't know for sure. How can I say? Let me put this in the private chat for you guys. So yeah, here is the link. I don't know. Will a link work in private chat, Dave? Do you know?
It should, yeah.
It should work? Okay. But for anybody that wants to look that up, like I said, it is, I believe, Love
Put
and
it in the chat
Saucers. I'll just put it right in the chat?
Put it right in the chat.
All right. I will do this. So you guys can look it up if you'd like. And I'm drawing a blank. It's been a long time since I heard about this one. I don't remember if he had any, like, children or any starseeds or anything like that. This seemed to be strictly for a good time kind of deal. But I would have to go back and watch that one. And like I said, it was Joe and Ben who turned me on to this one the first time, because I was like, well, that's interesting. And his art's also pretty interesting. What she looked like, relatively-ish, normal, I guess, humanoid, I guess you could say. I do remember her being very pale, and some other things like that. But yeah, I suppose, what do you do, though? You know, everybody makes fun of people sometimes with stories like this, but what do you do if that happened to you? I mean, if this happened to anybody in the chat right now, who's Dave? If this happened to you, who do you call? Who's the first person you
Never tell
call?
a bloody soul. Just enjoy the ride and never tell a bloody soul.
Simon Parks is another one too. Yeah, Jenny, that is another one as well. There's actually quite a few cases of this, specifically coming from more. Well, no, I guess it is 50-50. I was going to say more the male aspect, but I don't know. The relationship there seems to be a little bit different. This is why I've even asked Samantha this before when she's on with Lynn and stuff about, we often hear of the cases where, you know, like in her case, where they're meeting some of their starseed or their children, hybrids. And I've always asked the question, because I feel like it's not focused on enough, about, say, the fathers in the picture, and what their interaction is. And it's not to say that it isn't happening. Like even Geraldine talked about that, saying that she feels it definitely is happening. It's just that most of the males don't seem to be as outspoken about it in dealing with it, which is interesting. I wonder what the reasoning behind that is, I guess. I don't know.
No idea. But gentlemen, if you guys want to continue, you are
No,
more than...
actually, no. I was about to say I got to bail out, man. I'm actually freezing to death out here, so I'm gonna take off. So. It's freezing in here, man. Yeah, no. Yeah, no. I think I'm out of here. Yep. Yeah.
Point with me, Willie.
Oh man.
Yeah,
hey,
yeah.
I can't make fun of a man who's.
Yeah.
What is your temperature there, just for the fun of it?
40.
It's like 38 now, I think it is.
Oh.
Really? Wow. That is a little chilly for you're more in a kind of hot region of
Yeah,
California, right?
38, you know. And I'm in my garage, like, so it's actually probably pretty,
Right.
like, you know, it's not like anywhere near 38, but it's probably, you know, down around 45 or something, you know, just because, you know, it's just a garage, you know. So
All right. Well, let's say a big thank you to Carlito, Alicia, Carbines, Rex. Can't even read my own writing right now. Surf Jer ×2, Jeremy, G West, Melissa, and Grant for the amazing super chats. Remember, shift change tomorrow. Lynn Wallington, 6 to 8 p.m. Pacific. That is 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern. And then right after that, it's the after hours show. Big Willie, fedora wearing John Hudson, and the lovely and talented Gemma Jade bring you the after hours show of the week and the topics that were. It's going to be absolutely great. I'm going to be tuned in. I hope all of you are tuned in as well as we continue on here on Spaced Out Radio. Thank you to all our new subscribers this week, not only on YouTube, but all over our social media, from Twitter to YouTube to Facebook to TikTok and Instagram. We really appreciate you. Spooky Morales, it's your time of the night to shine. Here we go, buddy.